starting by showing Tobirama Senju a summary of Naruto. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151. Yakushi Kibata agrees to go to Raichi Cave. It was still early before bedtime, and Orochimaru left the Hokage's office and went straight to the Konoha hospital. Here, at Orochimaru's request, the 5th generation Jiraiya opened a quiet room for the treatment of Kimimaro. It was called treatment, but in fact it was just to prolong his life and linger on. Kibata, how is Kimimaro? When he came to the quiet room, Orochimaru saw Kibata Yakushi recording something. Looking at Kimimaro with tubes all over his body, even the cold-blooded Orochimaru couldn't help but feel some pity. Replying to Lord Orochimaru, Kimimaro's condition is getting worse and worse. He falls into a coma half of the time every day. If he can't come up with a truly effective treatment plan, Kimimaro may only have 2 or 3 months to live. As Kimimaro's exclusive doctor, Kibata Yakushi is very familiar with his situation. Keke disease is originally a very difficult disease, and there are few cured cases in the entire ninja world. In addition, Kimimaro's bloodline limit is still a rare corpse bone vein. From ancient times to the present, as long as the bloodline of the Shikotsu clan breaks out, there has been no successful treatment. Kibata Yakushi said that he had tried his best to extend Kimimaro's life for so long in Konoha. If you have to say who is most likely to save Kimimaro's life, it is probably only Tsunade, the sage of the ninja world. At the very least, he really has no other way. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Even if Kimimaro dies, I will revive him. After saying this, Orochimaru winked at Kibata Yakushi and asked him to come out with him. Kibata Yakushi didn't understand why, so he put down the paper and pen in his hand and followed Orochimaru out the door. Not far away, the two came to a darker and more empty place. Kibata, are you interested in fairy arts? Kibata Yakushi inexplicably felt a hint of danger. Being cautious by nature, he was not sure what Orochimaru meant, so he had to acquiesce and replied ambiguously, "Fairy arts? I'm not familiar with this. After all, I don't even have a curse seal." Orochimaru grinned, knowing that Kibata Yakushi was testing his purpose. He was not interested in playing dumb with Kibata Yakushi, so he said very straightforwardly, "If I ask you to go to Raichi Cave to learn celestial arts, will you go?" Upon hearing this, Kibata Yakushi pretended to be calm and adjusted his eye sockets, but still did not give a direct answer. Even Lord Orochimaru can't learn celestial arts, how can a mediocre person like me learn it? Kibata, don't underestimate yourself. In my eyes, you were a genius. In order to dispel Kibata Yakushi's concerns, Orochimaru seemed very patient. He continued to say one word at a time. Kibata, your current strength is too weak. If you want to continue to follow me, you need to strengthen your own strength, and celestial arts are a very good means. Look at that idiot Jiraiya, he learned the celestial arts of Nyoboku Mountain and was able to activate the Sage Mode. He was given the title of Toad Sage in the ninja world. Even I, in a fair fight, am not his opponent when he activates the Sage Mode. After staying with Orochimaru for a long time, how could Kibata Yakushi not know the power of the Sage Mode? Just look at the curse seal developed by Orochimaru, and you will know that opening the curse seal is actually opening a low-quality version of the Sage Mode. The low-quality version is so powerful, so the power of the original version is needless to say. However, Kibata Yakushi also knows the dangers of learning celestial arts. When he joined Orochimaru's camp, he learned about celestial arts and was surprised why Orochimaru did not learn the original celestial arts, but instead made a low-quality version of the curse seal. After his investigation, he found out that when Orochimaru learned the celestial arts of Raichi Cave, he lost half of his body. It was because Orochimaru had a lot of life-saving methods that he survived and did not die. If the same thing happened to Kibata Yakushi, he would not have the confidence to survive. Lord Orochimaru, Kibata, don't rush to refuse. Licking his tongue, Orochimaru continued, since I dare to let you go, I am not asking you to die. Before you go, I will teach you some life-saving skills so that even if you fail, you will not die. What Orochimaru said was very attractive. If he succeeds, he will have the power to stand at the top of the ninja world. If he fails, he will not die. In this case, any normal person will know what to choose. I understand, Lord Orochimaru. I agree with your proposal to go to Raichi Cave to learn fairy arts. This is the Kibata I know. Kibata left, he returned to the quiet room and continued to observe Kimimaro's physical condition. Orochimaru also left. He came to the laboratory and began to prepare to teach Kibata various life-saving abilities tomorrow. The most important one is his body cells. It can be seen from the light curtain that Kibata at the time was definitely injected with his cells. After all, Kibata at the time was really too much like him. Whether it is from the external performance, the tone of speech and the way of doing things, all aspects are very similar to him. Therefore, in order for Kibata to successfully learn the fairy arts of Raichi Cave, he must make Kibata as similar as possible to him on the light curtain. However, my cells are not something that ordinary people can bear. Orochimaru's cells are very dangerous. It is not like Hashirame's cells that can eat other cells, but it can assimilate other cells, making people with Orochimaru's cells more and more like him. If they can't stand it, they will be the second Orochimaru. Kibata Yakushi on the light curtain is a good example. With his strength and strong will after learning the fairy arts, he can't help but get some of Orochimaru's habits, let alone others. I'm really looking forward to whether Kibata Yakushi will learn the fairy arts of Raichiden like the one on the light curtain. If he succeeds, then I will have one more material to study the fairy arts. If he doesn't succeed, as long as he doesn't die, then I won't lose anything. Hehehe, Kibata, please don't let me down Orochimaru. You can make a lot of money, but I will never lose. Tobirama's office. After making an appointment with the Third Hokage to travel through time, Tobirama asked them to ask Obito how he avoided the disadvantage of using the main Ki Sharingan, which would reduce his vision. With the existence of no Hara ring, I believe Obito will not hide anything from them. Okay, everyone can go back. After saying this, Tobirama left the office first. Sarutobi Hiruzen and others followed behind Tobirama and began to walk out of the office door. Little Jiraiya took the opportunity to blend in and wanted to sneak away. Unexpectedly, little Tsunade was watching him and did not give him a chance to escape first. Jiraiya, why do I feel like you were avoiding me? Thanks. Then come for the 500 coin reward. Thank you. Chapter 152. Senju Hashirama. What a sin. When Jiraiya heard Tsunade's voice behind him, he shuddered, then smiled flatteringly and turned to Tsunade. Tsunade, I'm not hiding from you. I've been really busy these days. Tsunade sneered. How could she not know whether Jiraiya had something important to do? She stepped forward, grabbed Jiraiya's collar, and said harshly, Don't you want to date me? Have you changed your mind? As soon as these words came out, everyone who was about to leave the office stopped and stood there with interest, watching Jiraiya and Tsunade. Everyone in Konoha knows that I, Jiraiya, like Tsunade the most, but I've really been busy recently. Really? Yes. Jiraiya was so nervous that he was sweating all over. Since the last official inventory was over, Tsunade officially started dating him. The first 1 or 2 dates were fine. Tsunade was still a little restrained and only bought some small things, which didn't cost him much money. This gave him an illusion that his spring had come and Tsunade finally accepted him. Unfortunately, this was just Jiraiya's illusion. In the following few dates, Tsunade's appetite became bigger and bigger, and he would spend all his wallet every time he went on a date. He has been working very hard to make money by doing tasks, but it still can't satisfy Tsunade's desire to spend money. If it was just shopping, it would be fine. After all, it was something that could be seen and touched. In extreme cases, things could be sold for money. The most important thing is that Tsunade likes gambling. She loses every time she gambles, and Jiraiya has never seen her win. After several times, Tsunade not only emptied Jiraiya's wallet, but also successfully made Jiraiya carry a large amount of debt. During this period, if he didn't hide from Tsunade, it would probably take a few days for him to go to the street to beg for food with a broken bowl. Laugh. In fact, Tsunade's purpose is not to let Jiraiya beg for food, she just doesn't want this guy to bother her often. Of course, it's not impossible for Jiraiya to bother her, but he has to be prepared to have an empty wallet. Tsunade. Are you afraid of loving me? Jiraiya. I'm afraid. Oh, Mountain Cemetery, where Uchiha Madara hides. 2 or 3 months have passed since the last time Black Zetsu went to Konoha. During these 2 or 3 months, Uchiha Madara knew nothing about Konoha. It's not that Black Zetsu was not good, but that there are barriers set up by Tobirama in the key places of Konoha. In order not to expose himself, Black Zetsu can only search for information in the corners. Unfortunately, Tobirama was well prepared. He had already told everyone who was watching the light curtain that it was strictly forbidden to discuss anything related to the light curtain outside the office. This led to Black Zetsu exploring Konoha and not collecting any information at all. He just knew that every half a month, Tobirama and others would gather in the Hokage's office at 8 o'clock in the evening. But it didn't dare to enter the Hokage's office, so things were awkward. As for White Zetsu, unlike the Black Zetsu of the Third Hokage, who sent various middle and lower ninjas to Konoha where the White Zetsu was possessed, Black Zetsu did not have that many White Zetsu at his disposal. These White Zetsu were scattered all over the ninja world, helping it to gather intelligence while also monitoring the entire ninja world. It was precisely because of the insufficient number that it sent several very unique White Zetsu to Konoha. First, it would prevent these White Zetsu from bothering it when they had nothing to do. Second, it would not feel sorry even if these White Zetsu disappeared. As a result, these White Zetsu really disappeared, forcing it, the boss behind the scenes, to come to Konoha in person to investigate the cause. In the end, nothing was found. I always feel something is wrong. Do you think I should go back to Konoha? It all depends on the wishes of Lord Madara, but I want to remind Lord Madara that if you really want to go to Konoha, you have to go and come back early. After all, your body, Black Zetsu's meaning is very clear. If he cannot come back in time and reinsert the tube of the Outer Path Demon statue, it will seriously affect his lifespan. In the battle between him and Tobirama Senju, even though he used this energy to deceive the two brothers and successfully faked his death and eliminated them. But at the same time, he was indeed seriously injured, and the years of nurturing the Samsara Eye consumed his chakra and energy all the time. This led to the fact that if Uchiha Madara did not have the Outer Path Demon statue to extend his life, he could only live for 2 or 3 years at most. For his ideals, Madara would not allow himself to die so early, and Black Zetsu would not watch him die either. However, as Madara's were on the surface, Black Zetsu would not disobey him, and it could only persuade him from the side. Don't worry, I will adjust my condition before going to Konoha, and it shouldn't take much time. Madara-sama, just be sensible. Tobirama had no idea that Uchiha Madara would return to Konoha soon. At this time, he was looking at Tobirama Senju with a headache. That's right, Tobirama's 2 clones have matured, and the age of 30 is the golden age of ninjas. The clone was mature, and Tobirama didn't waste any time. He sacrificed a death row prisoner and then summoned Tobirama Senju at the impure world reincarnation. But the summoned Tobirama Senju was very angry this time. Tobirama, I remember I told you not to summon me if there is nothing wrong. Your living people should not bother me, a dead person, with your own affairs. The last time Tobirama summoned Tobirama was because of the Third Hokage. With outsiders present, Tobirama gave Tobirama face and did not scold him in public. This time, after Tobirama appeared, he looked around and saw all kinds of bottles and jars. He immediately knew that this was in a laboratory in the village. Since there were no external enemies, Tobirama didn't need to save face for Tobirama, and he scolded Tobirama madly for the fact that he was dead. Tobirama listened expressionless for a long time. When he saw Tobirama stop talking with a refreshed face, he said, I summoned you this time because I want to truly revive you. What? A true resurrection? Tobirama shook his head in disbelief when he heard this, then looked at Tobirama with a serious expression and said, Brother, have you been deceived? But that's not right. You are so smart, who can deceive you? I was not deceived. It was Orochimaru from 40 years later and I who jointly developed a technique that can resurrect people. Orochimaru from 40 years later. What is this? Tobirama Senju didn't believe a word of what his brother said. Brother, have you been under too much pressure recently? Why are you talking nonsense? Tobirama knew that if he didn't produce some evidence, he would have no chance of convincing his elder brother. He took Tobirama out of the room and came to the room with Tobirama's clone. What is this? When he saw 2 people who looked exactly like him and 2 large glass jars, Tobirama Senju was completely numb. Is this my father's illegitimate child? How come he looks so much like me? And why is there Madara's face on the right chest of that one? Tobirama Senju was very surprised by this discovery. Could it be my father and Madara's mother? What a sin. Chapter 153. Madara Tobirama is still alive. In a laboratory, Tobirama Senju held his head in his hands, looking very annoyed. Behind him, Tobirama Senju looked at him with a look of disgust. Brother, do you want to listen to what you are saying? Could father be such a person? Tobirama Senju's original intention was to make Tobirama realize that what he had just said was wrong. How could the father of the Senju brothers be such a person? But Tobirama Senju's brain circuit was different from Tobirama's. He thought about his father, Fushima, who had 4 sons in such a dangerous period of the Warring States period. It can be imagined how much his father valued his offspring. If he really did something like having an illegitimate child, Hashirama Senju would not find it strange. That's why my father would seduce Madara's mother. How can I face Madara in the Pure Land in the future? Hashirama Senju wailed again, completely leaving Tobirama speechless. Tobirama, tell me, what are their names? Why did you put them in a glass jar? Are they injured and healing? After saying this, Hashirama continued without waiting for Tobirama to answer. Wait, let me guess first. Well, I'm the eldest and my name is Hashirama, you are the second and my name is Tobirama, the third is Takarama, and the fourth is Banrama. I guess one of them must be called Kyangrama. If Kurama really has a fifth son, maybe he really could be called Kyangrama. From the pattern of naming the four brothers, we can see that pillars, doors, tiles, floors, and walls are also very reasonable, right? Unfortunately, Hashirama guessed wrong from the beginning. These two people are not his real brothers. Enough, brother, these two are not your father's illegitimate children, but your clones. Clones? What does that mean? Clones are, with Tobirama's explanation, Hashirama finally understood what a clone is, and that these two clones were to be used to resurrect him. Wait, Tobirama, according to what you said, these two clones were cultivated using my cells, but why? Hashirama pointed to the clone with Uchiha Madara's face printed on his right chest and said, why is there Madara's face on his right chest? Tobirama sighed, brother, you know how powerful your cells are. In order to cultivate your clones, I tried to combine the genetic cells of many people with your cells. As a result, the cells in every experimental body will be swallowed by your cells and then slowly turn into a piece of wood. Only Uchiha Madara's cells will not be swallowed by your cells. Ha, is that so? Madara is worthy of being my best friend. Even the compatibility of our cells is so good. Tobirama's mouth moved slightly, and he wanted to complain. But in the end, he didn't say anything, just urged his brother to quickly choose one of the two clones to revive. But Hashirama didn't seem to want to be resurrected. He looked at Tobirama and said in a very serious manner, brother, I understand your idea of resurrecting me, and I am very grateful for everything you have done for me, but I still say that I am already a dead person, and I should stay in the Pure Land instead of the living world. You frequently break the boundary between life and death like this, and I am worried that something will happen to you sooner or later. In Hashirama's view, what Tobirama is doing now is to steal the work of the god of death. You know, there are really gods of death in the ninja world. The ugly ghost summoned by the sealing technique. Shikifujin is the legendary god of death. It's okay that the impure world reincarnation is not a real resurrection. Once Tobirama can really resurrect the dead, Hashirama is afraid that his younger brother will provoke an existence that he shouldn't provoke. By then, he will be covered with hair and have an ominous old age. Don't worry, brother, I won't resurrect the dead on a large scale, and your worries are completely unnecessary. Tobirama didn't know that in the ninja world 40 years later, although the resurrection technique was still scarce, it was not non-existent. The Samsara Eyes reincarnation technique and the reincarnation technique of Old Lady Kyo in the Sand Village can be used to resurrect the dead. Moreover, although the god of death is a god, issues such as life and death are really not his business. The current master of the Pure Land is a man named Otsutsuki Harumo, also known as the Six Paths Sage. As long as his mother Otsutsuki is not resurrected, no matter how many people Tobirama resurrects, he probably won't jump out to intervene. In the original work, after Nagato destroyed Konoha village and killed so many people, he used the reincarnation technique to resurrect the people he killed. With so many people, the Six Paths Sage didn't show up. There's no reason for Tobirama to jump out and intervene just because he resurrected a few people. No, I still don't agree to resurrection. Brother, listen, I'm really fine. No, just because you're fine now doesn't mean you'll be fine in the future. Brother, you're cheating. You promised me last time you came out of the impure world reincarnation. Promise you? What did I promise you? I said I wanted to discuss something with you, but you let me make the decision myself. Why, now you don't admit it? Hashirama thought about it and found that he seemed to have said that. For a moment, he was a little stuck in his words and didn't know what to say. Seeing this, Tobirama simply released his ultimate move. Brother, is Uchiha Madara still alive? What? Madara is still alive. Hearing this, Hashirama was shocked. At the beginning, he was very shameless and stabbed Madara in the back, thus killing his best friend. Now Hashirama told him that Madara is not dead. What about the stab in the back? He stabbed in vain. Yes, I've been to Madara's grave, and the coffin inside is empty. Just because the coffin is empty doesn't mean Madara is not dead, does it? What if it was a grave robber? The more he spoke, the lower Hashirama's voice became. Maybe he also felt that it was a bit outrageous. However, as the eldest brother, Hashirama pretended to cough twice, then looked at Tobirama solemnly again and asked, "Are you sure Madara is still alive?" "Yes." "Well, I'll let you revive." Tobirama was silent for a while, took a few deep breaths, and then replied, "Okay, big brother, leave it to me." In order to let big brother Hashirama have the strength of his heyday, he strongly recommended Hashirama to choose the stronger clone. Hashirama did not object. In the ninja world, most ninjas will do anything to become stronger. As long as they can become stronger, they can choose not to be human. What's a mere tattoo of Uchiha Madara's face? Hashirama even felt a little sorry. Why this tattoo is not on his left chest? I have you in my heart. This is the treatment that a close friend deserves. Big brother, relax, don't resist at all. Okay, you do it. After getting the big brother's consent, Tobirama began to act. After the same operation as resurrecting Nohara Rin, Konoha's first-generation Hokage, the god of ninja, Tobirama's big brother, Senju Hashirama, was officially resurrected. Chapter 154. The fourth Hokage appears. While Tobirama was resurrecting Hashirama, the third Hokage was also preparing to resurrect the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze. Because Minato Namikaze died after using the Shiki Fushin, his soul had been eaten by the god of death. If he wanted to resurrect him, he had to free his soul from the stomach of the god of death first. Orochimaru already had a way to do this. Just like in the original plot, Orochimaru and his party came to the forbidden place of the Uzumaki clan, the Namen Hall. He wore a mask representing the god of death, and after sacrificing the soul of a death row prisoner, he successfully let the god of death cut open his stomach and released the soul of Minato Namikaze. And he himself used the snake's molting technique and the snake-style substitution technique to successfully deceive the god of death and avoid having his soul cut off by the god of death. The god of death, who had made a loss, was almost mad at Orochimaru's shameless operation. But what could he do? He couldn't do anything to Orochimaru, so he could only return to the Pure Land with endless anger. It's alright now. With Minato's own soul as the medium for the impure world reincarnation, we can start to revive him now. After saying that, Orochimaru began to make hand seals with both hands, and used the impure world reincarnation to revive Minato Namikaze. As soon as Minato Namikaze opened his eyes, the third Hokage, Orochimaru, Kakashi and others appeared in front of him. The fifth Hokage Jiraiya did not come to the Nomen Hall with Orochimaru this time because he had to handle official business and stay in Konoha. Minato, welcome back. After taking a puff of cigarette, the third Hokage looked at Minato Namikaze with a very complicated expression. Originally, Orochimaru wanted to revive Minato and his wife at once. But the third Hokage was a little afraid of facing Kushina, so he wanted to revive Minato first, and then revive Kushina after telling him what happened in the past few years, especially about Naruto. In this way, with Minato in the middle as a buffer, Kushina should not kill him, right? Sanda, what's going on? Kakashi, go and tell Minato about the situation. Yes, Sand-sama. Seeing Kakashi pulling Minato aside to explain the situation, Orochimaru smiled and asked the third Hokage, "Old man, do you think Minato will blame me for treating Naruto like that?" From the faster frequency of the third Hokage's smoking, it can be seen how nervous he was at this moment. I believe in Minato. He is the Hokage of Konoha. He should understand me. Yes, he is the Hokage, a Hokage who died for his wife and gave his only son to you to take care of. Orochimaru didn't care about his teacher's face, which was gradually turning black. He continued, "It's your fault, old man. You promised Minato that you would take good care of Naruto. What happened? I'm embarrassed to say it. Orochimaru, do you think I'm too old to teach you a lesson? Haha, what else can you do besides complaining to the second generation?" Orochimaru sneered, "Instead of thinking about how to teach me a lesson, you might as well think about how not to be beaten to death by Kushina. Minato has a gentle temperament and may forgive the third generation Hokage. But Kushina has a very bad temper. When she was still in the ninja school, she was nicknamed a blood red pepper because of her bad temper. When she lost her temper, even Minato couldn't control her. Once she knew that her precious son was treated like that by the third Hokage, she would be in great danger of having a few broken ribs. Then Orochimaru, do you have any good suggestions? I think it's better for you not to resist. You may not be able to beat Kushina now." Thinking about his age, the third Hokage had to admit that he was really old. His body functions had seriously deteriorated, and his shape capacity was only 2/3 of his peak period. His recovery speed was even slower than that of his peak period. Even if he could be evenly matched with Kushina in a short period of time, he would definitely not be Kushina's opponent in the long run. In that case, why not try playing the victim? Play the victim. How do you play that victim? It's very simple. At your age, you didn't say anything back when Kushina scolded you, didn't fight back when she hit you, and you cried and snotted. At most, she would hit you a few times to vent her anger. After all, beating an old man is not an honorable thing. It has to be you, Orochimaru. Only you can come up with such a sinister and good idea. Orochimaru rolled his eyes and didn't continue talking to the third Hokage. Instead, he came to Kakashi and Minato. It happened that Kakashi had briefly explained what happened in the past few years. When Kakashi talked about Naruto's situation back then, Minato's fists clenched unconsciously. Minato, if it were me, I would definitely not tolerate it. You have sacrificed your life for the village, but the village treats your son like this. Is this good? This is not good. Lord Orochimaru, you? Facing Orochimaru, who was provoking trouble, Minato also had a face full of laughter and tears. Don't worry about me, just pretend I don't exist. You can hit me as much as you want, old man. I won't help him. Alas, I think the third Hokage must have his own ideas for doing that. After being interrupted by Orochimaru, Minato was really embarrassed to attack the third Hokage. First of all, he was the previous Hokage, Jiraiya's teacher, and also his own master. Secondly, he was an old man and an elder. He couldn't do such a thing as beating an elder. But just because he couldn't do it didn't mean that others couldn't do it. The smart Minato had already thought of why he was released from the impure world first. Wasn't it just to persuade Kushina? As a junior, he would of course persuade Kushina and not let the third Hokage bleed on the spot. But everyone knows how terrifying Kushina is when she is furious, and he loves his wife very much, so it is impossible for him to be violent with Kushina. Then at the time, it is also very reasonable that he can't persuade Kushina, right? The group quickly returned to the village. According to the plan, Minato will go back to the laboratory with Orochimaru. There, he will be resurrected with Kushina and Kakashi's father Hatake Seikamo. However, after entering Konoha village, Minato suddenly said that he wanted to meet Naruto first. And in order to leave a good impression on Naruto, his appearance must be handsome enough. Orochimaru said that he didn't care about Minato's request and his second-year idea. Anyway, it won't take up much time, so just meet. As for how to make a handsome appearance, Orochimaru patted his chest and said, let him arrange it. Orochimaru's arrangement was also very simple and crude. He pretended to be a ninja from the enemy village who invaded Konoha, and was accidentally discovered by Naruto, who was practicing. After torturing Naruto, Namikaze Minato can make a brilliant appearance. Damn, who are you? Hehehe, I'm the one who killed you. Deep in the Konoha forest, Naruto was practicing how to rollerballs with one hand. At this time, Orochimaru, disguised as a ninja from the enemy village, appeared and beat Naruto in no time. Just when Naruto was thinking about whether to use the power of the Nine Tails, a specially made kunai switch was inserted between him and the enemy. Before Naruto could react, a ninja wearing a divine robe and with the same yellow hair as him appeared in front of him very handsomely. Looking closely, there were 5 big characters written on the robe. Fourth Hokage. Naruto, I'm not too late. Chapter 155 Blood Red Pepper. Uzumaki Kushina. Seeing the 5 characters Fourth Hokage on the robe, Naruto was slightly stunned, then smiled and said, just in time. The next thing will be easy. Under the gorgeous attack of Minato Namikaze, the ninja from the enemy village disguised by Orochimaru died with hatred. Minato's handsome rescue made Naruto feel what fatherly love is for the first time, and at the same time, his resentment towards Minato also dissipated by half. It can be said that this fate battle perfectly achieved Minato Namikaze's goal. He is worthy at being the 4th Hokage. In a laboratory, under Naruto's witness, Orochimaru successfully resurrected Minato and his wife. When she heard that Naruto had such a miserable childhood, as expected, Kushina exploded instantly. That old bastard, he dared to do this to our son. Because they were just resurrected, Kushina and Minato's bodies were actually still very weak, and they needed to recuperate for a period of time before they could slowly recover. But Kushina didn't care so much. She clearly remembered how Minato had entrusted Naruto to the care of the third Hokage, and the third Hokage had agreed to it. But now he told her that Naruto had a bad childhood. This was really too much. Kushina's red hair was flying in the air. People who knew her knew that this was a sign of her rage. Kushina, the third Hokage must have his own difficulties. Minato, don't say it. If I don't beat the little bastard into the hospital for a while, I'm not Uzumaki Kushina. Minato was a gentleman. He promised to persuade Kushina, and he would definitely do it. It's just that the effect of this persuasion is not very good. Laughed Orochimura. Tell me where the little bastard is. A drop of cold sweat flowed down Orochimura's forehead. Kushina's furious momentum even scared him a little. At this time, the old man is either in the Hokage building or at home. Okay, then I'll go find him first. After hugging Naruto tightly and kissing his forehead, Kushina began to quickly head towards the Hokage building with a terrifying momentum. Father, is mother so scary? Obviously, Naruto was also frightened by Kushina's momentum. He was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything, asking his mother to let the third-generation grandfather go. It's okay, when Kushina is not angry, she is still very gentle and virtuous. Then should we go to stop mother? Of course we will go, but not now. Minato was undoubtedly very angry about what happened to Naruto in his childhood. It was just that his personality and identity determined that he could not fight the third-generation Hokage like Kushina did. Now it's good. Let Kushina teach the third-generation Hokage a lesson and vent his anger. At the Hokage office building, Uzumaki Kushina came in anger and grabbed Narashikaku, who had just come out of the building delivering documents to Jiraiya the 5th generation, and asked angrily, "Is the 3rd generation old bastard here?" Narashikaku was confused. He didn't expect that he would be questioned by someone holding his collar at the door of the Hokage office building. When he was about to break free, he suddenly saw the red hair flying all over the sky. Shikaku, who had a sense of judo, thought of something instantly. After looking at the other person's face again, he immediately gave up the idea of breaking free. The 3 Hokages are discussing things with the 5th generation inside. Very good. Letting go of Narashikaku, Uzumaki Kushina quickly rushed to the Hokage's office upstairs. At the door of the building, looking at Kushina rushing to the Hokage's office, Narashikaku couldn't help but mutter to himself, "The blood-red pepper of the year is back." As a ninja school student at the same time as Minato, Shikaku knew Kushina's temper very well. If it's not good, something big will happen. Wait, Kushina has appeared, so what about the 4th generation? With Shikaku's intelligence, he has seen all the changes in the village in recent months. During Orochimaru's Konoha collapse plan, Senju Tobirama and the young version of Sarutobi Hiruzen had appeared in public. What's more, after traveling through time twice, except for Tobirama who still wore a mask, his disciples did not hide their identities. If Shikaku still couldn't guess something, then he underestimated his brain. It seems that the world of the ninja world will soon change. Jiraiya, do you think we need to strengthen some contacts with the other 4 major ninja villages and improve our relations? When the Akatsuki organization officially starts to implement the plan to capture the tailed beasts, we can unite these 4 major ninja villages and fight back against the Akatsuki organization together. We must contact each other. With the relationship between the future Kage Gaara and Naruto in the Sand Village, there'll definitely be no problem with the Sand Village. The problem is the other 3 major ninja villages, the reckless 4th Hokage, the cunning Oath Nuki, and the unknown Kurigaku. These 3 ninja villages are not easy to deal with. Yeah. The 3rd Hokage was also troubled when he thought of the 4th Hokage and the 3rd Hokage Oath Nuki. Then let's ignore the Kamigaku and the Iwagaku for now and send an envoy to the Kurigaku to find out the situation. Jiraiya nodded and agreed with the 3rd Hokage's opinion. It's just the selection of members for this diplomatic mission. Just when Jiraiya wanted to discuss with the 3rd Hokage the selection of members to be sent to the Hidden Mist Village, the tightly closed door of the Hokage's office was suddenly kicked open. 3rd generation old bastard, go to hell. 3rd generation Hokage. Jiraiya, we will discuss the issue of candidates later. Seeing Kushina with her hair flying in the air, at this moment, the 3rd generation Hokage abandoned the plan of playing misery given by Orochimaru, and after hurriedly telling Jiraiya, he smashed the French window and quickly ran towards a secluded place in the village. He was afraid that if he didn't run, he would be beaten to death by Kushina. Moreover, even if he was beaten, he had to find a place where no one was. As the 3rd generation Hokage, he couldn't lose face. 3rd generation old bastard, don't run. Kushina, wait a minute. Jiraiya opened his hand, intending to persuade Kushina a little, so that she would be a little gentler when she attacked. Jiraiya knew that if Kushina didn't let her vent her anger, she would definitely not give up. Unexpectedly, Kushina didn't give him any face at all, and glared at him with a stern look, which frightened him so much that he shivered. Asshole Jiraiya, you're not a good guy either. Wait until I deal with that little bastard, then I'll come and settle the score with you. Jiraiya smiled awkwardly as he watched Kushina leave. Kushina's words reminded him that he had never taken care of Naruto. The Third Hokage at least visited Naruto from time to time, and although he had all kinds of calculations, it was also a way of giving Naruto a little warmth during his lonely childhood. And what about him? Because he didn't like the atmosphere in the village, and because he had to look for the child of destiny, he completely ignored Naruto, the son of his own disciple. Thinking of this, Jiraiya sighed. He had already prepared himself mentally to be beaten up by Kushina later. Chapter 156. Hashirama. Madara, you are not dead after all. Kushina, listen to my explanation. In a remote forest of Konoha, the Third Hokage stopped and chose to face Kushina head-on. However, when he saw Kushina, who looked like a devil, he couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Explain. Humph, what did you promise me and Minato? You said you would take good care of Naruto. It was Danzo. Well, this is indeed my fault. Subconsciously, the Third Hokage wanted to put the blame on Danzo, but when he thought that Kushina might not believe it, he had to admit it. It's good that you know you're wrong. Let me beat you up. After saying that, Kushina came to the Third Hokage in an instant, raised her fist as big as a sandbag and hit the Third Hokage. The Third Hokage did not resist and chose to let Kushina attack. If the Third Hokage resisted, perhaps Kushina would get more and more excited. However, this old bastard was like an inflated doll. No matter how hard she beat him, he just lay on the ground and didn't move. After hitting her several times in a row, Kushina didn't feel very good. Seeing that he had been beaten black and blue, and looked like a pitiful old man, she was too embarrassed to hit him harder. HMPH, damn old man, I won't let Naruto's matter go. After saying this harsh word, Kushina turned and left the woods, ready to find trouble with Jiraiya. Hehe, this ginger is still spicy when it's old. Looking at the leaving Kushina, the Third Hokage smiled triumphantly. The reason why he wanted to run was nothing more than to give himself and Kushina a buffer time, so that Kushina's anger when she saw him would drop to a lower level. Then, he let Kushina beat him without any resistance. Isn't this much better than Orochimaru's simple pity? Based on his understanding of Kushina, although her temper is bad, she has a bottom line. As long as she can get through the few angry punches before, it will be fine. Kushina did not disappoint the Third Hokage. Don't be fooled by the miserable appearance of this old man. He only had 2 broken ribs. After 10 days or half a month of recuperation, he, the Third Hokage, will be full of energy again. The Third Hokage was beaten into the hospital by Kushina. The 5th Jiraiya was also beaten by Kushina. She was so angry that she didn't even let Kakashi go. She gave Kakashi a combination of punches in front of Seikomo and made him go to the hospital to accompany the Third Hokage. Among the 3, only Jiraiya escaped the hospitalization package because he was the current Hokage and needed to deal with the affairs of the village. However, from his dark blue eye sockets and his enlarged face, it can be seen that Kushina didn't let him have an easy time. As for Obito, when Obito came out of Lin's house and was about to leave Konoha, he saw Kushina beating Jiraiya and Kakashi. On the side, there was also Minato Namikaze pretending to separate them. Hatake Seikomo covered his face and turned his head away, looking like he couldn't bear to watch. Seeing this scene, Obito broke out in a cold sweat. Without anyone noticing him, he quickly slipped out of Konoha and said that he would not come to Konoha in the short term. Are you kidding? Jiraiya and Kakashi were both beaten into pigheads. Judging from what he did, if he was caught by his master's wife Kushina, would he still be alive? He could only hope that as time went by, Kushina's anger would subside a little. When that time came, he would have the courage to appear in front of them. By the way, isn't Konoha a little too magical now? Does their resurrection technique have no side effects? The second Hokage Senju Tobirama, the first Jinchuriki Uzumaki Mito, the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, the blood-red chili Uzumaki Kushina, and Konoha White Fan Hatake Seikomo. Will they also resurrect the first Hokage Senju Hashirama and the last Uchiha clan leader Uchiha Fuku? What on earth is Konoha trying to do by resurrecting so many people? Do they want to unify the ninja world? Obito didn't understand. He just felt that if it continued like this, Konoha would be too strong. Even if all the members of the Akatsuki organization were dispatched at the time, they probably wouldn't be able to defeat Konoha. Obito was very anxious when he thought that the plan to capture the tailed beast might fail. The talisman on his heart was the key to Madara's control of him. If he wanted to get rid of Madara's control, he could either destroy his heart and become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, using the Ten Tails' huge vitality to fill the vacancy of having no heart. Or he could return to Konoha and let them resurrect him after his death. Obito thought about it and still felt that becoming the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki was reliable. He had done so many bad things to Konoha. If he judged others by himself, Konoha would definitely not choose to let him go. They were too busy killing him, so how could they possibly resurrect him? As a person, you still have to rely on yourself. As long as I become the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki, no one will be my opponent, and I can be with Rin openly. Even if Rin dies of old age, I will not let the people of Konoha resurrect her. I will recreate a world where Rin exists, and then I can be with her forever. So many years have passed, and Konoha hasn't changed much. In the Senju Tobirama time and space, Uchiha Madara, who had been away for many years, returned to Konoha with his aging and tired body. His old face made him not need to make any disguises at all. He was confident that even if Senju Tobirama stood in front of him, he would not recognize him now. Perhaps, only Hashirama could recognize me now. Standing on the street of Konoha, Uchiha Madara sighed for a moment, and then began to walk towards the memorial stone of Konoha. After finally returning to Konoha, he wanted to talk to Hashirama first. After picking a few wildflowers at random on the roadside and placing them under the memorial, Madara looked at the name of Senju Hashirama on the memorial and said, "Hashirama, you never thought that I'd come back again. I didn't die in that battle. My Uchiha family has an ultimate eye technique called a Zanijin. This technique can turn things that happened within a period of time that are unfavorable to you into nothing, and only choose things that are beneficial to you to become reality. I used this technique to deceive you and that stinky boy Tobirama. After many years, your stinky brother went to dig up my grave for some reason and found out that I was not dead. I have to say that the stinky boy did a good job, well, in every sense. Hashirama, your set of ideas has failed, and it's up to me next. I will prove to you that I am right." At the memorial, Uchiha Madara next Senju Hashirama for a long time. He was ready to leave until the sun was about to set. But when he turned around, he saw a scene that shocked him. A 30-something Senju Hashirama was standing behind him, waving and grinning at him. "Haha Madara, you're not dead after all." Madara. Chapter 157. Madara. "Impossible, Hashirama is dead. I saw him buried with my own eyes." Uchiha Madara originally thought that nothing in the ninja world could surprise him. But looking at the man in front of him, he had to admit that he was very surprised. He was almost paralyzed by the shock. Why would a person who had been dead for many years reappear in front of him? Back then, it should be Zetsu, who saw Hashirama's body buried with his own eyes. The most important thing is that the reappeared Hashirama has become so young, which is even more weird. Uchiha Madara. I'm so envious. Madara, you may not believe it, Tobirama resurrected me. At this point, Hashirama smiled and walked forward, hugged Uchiha Madara, and continued. How about it, are you surprised to see me again? Uchiha Madara slapped the right hand that was hugging him, and replied with a little disgust. No surprise, but it surprised me. Under close contact, Uchiha Madara sensed the chakra from Hashirama. This chakra made him very familiar. Add to that the silly character of the guy in front of him. That's right, this guy should be Hashirama Senju. Not some counterfeit product imitating Hashirama. Character can be disguised, but chakra cannot be disguised. Don't say that, I'm very surprised to see you. Curling his lips speechlessly, Madara asked. How did you find me? And how long have you been here? That's what you're talking about. Hashirama laughed, revealing his big white teeth. It's quite a coincidence, I was resurrected not long ago. I want to get familiar with the current Konoha as soon as possible. I've been wandering around the village these days. In order to hide my identity, I deliberately wear a mask. As he said that, Hashirama Senju showed the animal mask on his waist to Madara. Then you found me while you were shopping. Yeah, I wasn't sure it was you at the time, I just thought you looked familiar, gave me a familiar feeling, but when you came to the memorial and heard what you said, I was sure it was you. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara suddenly felt very ashamed. It would have been fine if he didn't notice that he was being followed by Hashirama. After all, Hashirama's strength was on par with his, one was following him on purpose, and the other didn't sense him specifically, so it was normal that he couldn't find him. But when he thought of what he had just said to the memorial, Madara felt a sense of social shame. In other words, you were following me from the beginning to the end. Hashirama didn't notice that Madara's face had turned ugly, he still had a smiling face, and replied. Yes, I was behind you from the beginning, and I heard everything you said without missing a word. He, hum, ah ha 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 ha. Hashirama looked at Madara who was laughing wildly in 3 stages, confused, and thought to himself. Is Madara so happy that he is alive again? If you put yourself in his shoes, you will be very happy if you see your best friend resurrected after you're old. Madara, you're indeed my best friend. My friend, forget what I said in front of the memorial and die obediently. Madara stopped smiling and attacked Hashirama without any warning. Madara, what's wrong with you? Aren't we talking well? Why are you fighting? Hashirama was too familiar with Madara, and this sneak attack did not cause any damage to Hashirama. Madara, calm down. Calm down. Madara ignored Hashirama and continued to attack. He used his hands, feet, head, and even teeth to bite. Madara, you know, my uncle died a long time ago. I don't care. Seeing Madara attacking him like a naughty child, Hashirama felt that Madara was indeed old while dealing with him. The attacking moves were indeed similar to before, fierce and cruel. But the aging of his body made him much less powerful and fast in both attacking. Fortunately, Hashirama had just been resurrected, and this body had not yet restored him to his peak state. At most, it was only 80% of his peak state. This made the scene look evenly matched. However, both sides knew that if the time went on for a long time, Madara would definitely not be able to hold on. In terms of physical strength alone, Hashirama could drag Madara to death. Hashirama, you are still so annoying. What will happen if you just let me hit you a few times? Well, it really won't hurt to be hit by you a few times, but it hurts too. If it was a more normal attack, as long as it could make Madara vent his anger, he would let Madara hit him, although he didn't know why Madara was angry. But, Madara's attack on him was not very normal. What about the double peaks piercing the ears, the double dragon piercing the eyes, the monkey stealing peaches, etc.? Are these normal moves? I'm afraid they are trying to kill him directly. Humph, Hashirama, don't think you have won, I have surpassed you in all aspects. Hashirama pushed Madara away with a push. After fighting for a while, Madara was a little out of breath, and now was a good opportunity to catch his breath and rest. Hashirama was also happy to see Madara didn't continue to attack. But after hearing what Madara said just now that he had surpassed him in all aspects, he looked at Madara's face, touched his own face at the same time, and said, well, as long as you are happy. Madara's eyes instantly turned red. He understood what Hashirama meant. Wasn't he saying that he was old and he was still young? Madara had always envied Hashirama for regaining his youth, but now Hashirama used this to mock him. If he could tolerate this, he would not be Uchiha Madara. Asshole Hashirama, is being young a big deal? I have lived for so long, and I am not just eating for free. Then what do you eat? Porridge. Don't interrupt me, I will prove to you now that I have completely surpassed you. After saying that, Uchiha Madara tore off the robe he was wearing, revealing Hashirama's face on his left chest. Seeing his face appear on Madara's left chest, Hashirama not only did not show a surprised expression, but also said happily, oh, you are worthy at being my best friend, you have it too. What the hell are you talking about? Madara was confused by Hashirama's reaction. He knew that Hashirama was a fool, but he didn't expect him to be so foolish. Hey, I have your face printed on my chest, don't you have anything to ask? At least pretend to be surprised and give a normal reaction. If you do this, it will make me look like the fool. How unreasonable. Madara was very angry. He clapped his hands and was about to perform word release to prove that he had obtained Hashirama's power and his strength had surpassed him, but he saw Hashirama taking off his clothes. It would be fine if he didn't take it off, but once he took it off, Madara saw his face appear on Hashirama's right chest. Madara. Chapter 158 Madara uses word release. Hashirama, what did you do? Madara tore off his robe, originally intending to surprise Hashirama, and then demonstrate word release to announce that he had surpassed Hashirama. However, when Hashirama saw Madara's left chest, he did not seem surprised, but took off his clothes as well, which surprised Madara. He could not help but be surprised. He knew very well how the face of Hashirama on his chest came from. In the battle at the Valley of the End, he bit off a piece of Hashirama's flesh at the last moment. From this piece of flesh, he obtained the so-called Hashirama cells. As an aside, it is rumored that the reason why Tobirama Senju, who had the body of a sage, died so early was because Uchiha Madara's teeth were poisonous and killed Tobirama Senju. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain that he only lost a piece of flesh, and died after only a few years after the battle. Of course, this is just nonsense, and there is no substantial evidence. It's just for fun. Ahem, let's get back to the point. The face of Hashirama on Uchiha Madara's left chest appeared when he was injected with Hashirama cells and awakened the Rinnegan when he was about to die. In other words, the appearance of Hashirama's face originated from Hashirama's own cells. In this case, by the same token, the face of Uchiha Madara on Hashirama's right chest should have been made using his cells. But where did Hashirama get his own cells? He couldn't remember when he left his body tissues outside. This was very puzzling to him. I heard from Tobirama that it seemed that your cells were used in this body, so your face grew. Where did that brat Tobirama get my cells from? I don't know, Tobirama didn't tell me. Then why can't you just ask? Why should I ask? Okay, this is very Hashirama. In order to maintain his image, Madara resisted the urge to roll his eyes. After a short silence, he couldn't help but ask, you haven't awakened the Sharingan yet, have you? If Hashirama really awakened the Sharingan, then what he said just now about surpassing Hashirama would be a complete lie. Of course, Madara still has the trump card of the Samsara Eye. Even if Hashirama awakened the Sharingan, it would be impossible for it to evolve into the Samsara Eye in such a short time. It took him many years to evolve the Sharingan into the Samsara Eye. It doesn't make sense that Hashirama only took a few days to do it, right? The Samsara Eye is his advantage, but Hashirama also has fairy arts. When he thought of the huge Buddha statue of 1,000 hands, Uchiha Madara couldn't help but twitch his eyes. His power suit, Susanoo, in front of this 1,000-handed Buddha statue, is like a little chicken. Facing the attack of thousands of hands, he can only try his best to resist. Just one word. Outrageous. Sharingan. I'm not from Uchiha, can I also awaken Sharingan? You have my cells, so you should be able to awaken Sharingan. Really? That's great, you don't know how cool your Sharingan is. Cool? Haha, I hope you don't cry when you awaken Sharingan. Cry? Why should I cry? At this time, Uchiha Madara was already a little impatient. He tore off his robe to show would release, not to chat with Hashirama in the cold wind. You'll know when the time comes. After casually perfunctorily talking to Hashirama, Madara took a deep breath to adjust his mood, then clapped his hands and shouted, would release. Tree World Advent Huh? Madara, why do you know would release? Seeing the trees growing wildly around him, Hashirama exclaimed and ran to the woods. This is Konoha's memorial. The noise was too loud and would attract the ninjas in the village. According to his understanding of Madara, Madara would not be merciful to these ninjas. Hashirama, don't run. Seeing Hashirama running away, Madara shouted excitedly and chased in the direction Hashirama left. How could he be so good at pretending that the real owner ran away when he was only halfway through? He, Uchiha Madara, must finish pretending. The two of them moved very quickly, one after the other, and soon arrived at Konoha's forbidden area, the Forest of Death. When they reached the depths of the Forest of Death, Hashirama stopped when he felt that it was almost time, and turned to look at Madara who was chasing him excitedly. Would release. Wait. Seeing that Madara was about to use would release ninjutsu again without saying a word, Hashirama quickly stopped him. What for? Madara forcibly stopped the mobilization of chakra, which almost made him gasp, and his tone was inevitably a little bad. Hashirama didn't care about Madara's tone. He said seriously, Madara, will your large-scale use of wood release ninjutsu affect your body? Madara frowned and asked, what do you mean? That is, can your body still bear it? Are you underestimating me? Madara was furious. He used wood release clone without hesitation and created two old Madaras. Then, the clones and the original body opened the main scheme Sharingan and used Susanoo. Come on, Hashirama, let's fight to our heart's content. In the dark, Black Zetsu, who came with Madara, looked at Madara who was already in a frenzy and cursed him as an idiot. Uchiha Madara usually relies on the outer path demon statue to prolong his life. It's not impossible to fight, but the intensity of the battle must be low. Like him now, using wood release ninjutsu and Susanoo, he is simply playing with his life. Black Zetsu doesn't want Madara to die like this. He still needs his body to revive his mother. After lurking for thousands of years, it finally waited for such a high-quality container, and it couldn't let it go to waste. Thinking of this, Black Zetsu immediately jumped out of the shadows and said to Uchiha Madara, Madara, your body can no longer fight a fierce battle. Go away, you are just the incarnation of my will, don't come to order me. I'm not ordering you, but for our ideals, I have to come out to stop you. You can't stop my Zetsu, I say it again, go play, don't think I won't kill you just because you are my will. Uchiha Madara's stubborn look made Black Zetsu feel very upset. The Madara above was indeed not something it could stop. Fortunately, there were people on the scene who could stop him. Madara, is your body so weak? Hashirama didn't know what this black mass was, but from what it said, if Madara insisted on fighting, he might die. Don't worry, Hashirama. I won't die. Really? I don't believe it. Whether you believe it or not, I believe it anyway. After saying that, Madara didn't care about anything else and raised the Susanoo blade to slash at Hashirama. Madara, for the sake of your life, I have to end this battle in a short time. After dodging the attack of the Susanoo blade, Hashirama created 9 wood-style clones. 10 Senju Hashirama put their hands together at the same time and shouted, "Wood-style!" Woodman technique. In an instant, 10 wooden men, which were bigger than Madara's Susanoo, rose from the ground. Bedu Encyclopedia says that the Tree World Descent and the Tree World Advent are translation issues, and are actually the same ninjutsu. But when I watched the anime, only during the Chunin exam did the Impure World Hashirama use the Tree World Descent, while in the 4 subsequent battles, Hashirama and Madara used the Tree World Advent. The book says, the Tree World Descent is a weakened version of the Tree World Advent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 159. Power Equipment. Susanoo. Uchiha Madara, who had always been strong, looked very ugly when he saw the 10 wooden men that Senju Hashirama had erected. He only hit 3 Susanoos, but the other side had 10 wooden men, and the Susanoos were shorter than the wooden men. If it were a normal person, he would definitely avoid the sharp edge, defend, and then wait for an opportunity to counterattack. But Uchiha Madara didn't do that. He was at a disadvantage in every way, but he took the lead in attacking. Boom! The 3 Susanoos attacked at the same time, and the 20-meter machete made a lot of noise. Senju Hashirama didn't say much when he saw this, and controlled the wooden men to attack the Susanoos. Damn it. The 2 sides fought, and Uchiha Madara immediately began to fall into a disadvantage. After all, Hashirama's wooden men were more in number than his Susanoos, and the quality was slightly higher. If Madara couldn't win by surprise in a short time, it would only be a matter of time before he was defeated. Hashirama Madara, Uchiha Madara shouted, and Senju Hashirama followed suit. Then, the 2 began a more intense battle. Uchiha Madara glared, his pupil powerfully opened, and the style of Susanoo changed accordingly, from 2 hands to 4 hands. With 2 more hands, Susanoo has indeed improved in strength. But as I said, Hashirama has 10 wooden men. It is very difficult to defeat these wooden men when both quantity and quality are at a disadvantage. From childhood to adulthood, Madara has been very serious about every battle. He doesn't want to lose to anyone, especially Senju Hashirama. Therefore, even if the situation is very unfavorable to him at this time, he does not want to give up. He only heard him shout and began to control Susanoo with all his strength to attack. At this moment, Susanoo was like a mad dog, waving its limbs wildly. Not to mention, Madara's style of attacking without defending made the situation chaotic. Hashirama was a little worried about Madara's health. Facing Madara's crazy attack, Hashirama could only defend himself. It was not that he had no way to attack, but he was afraid of accidentally killing Madara. Madara knew Hashirama very well. The wooden man's defensive posture made him frown. He was very dissatisfied with Hashirama's choice. Hashirama, what are you doing? Come and fight me. Madara, that's enough. Don't be willful. Don't you know what your body is like? Hashirama, are you pitying me? When did I, Uchiha Madara, need others to pity me? I don't want to lose you, my dear friend. Friend, if you really think of me as a friend, don't pity me. Come on, face me head on. Hashirama was speechless. Looking at Madara, who had begun to become crazy, he also gave up the talk therapy. Hashirama sighed. At this moment, he felt that it would be great if he could enter the Sage mode and use the Sage technique. In that case, he could use the Buddha's transformation to subdue Uchiha Madara, so that Madara could no longer destroy his body. Unfortunately, the cloned body has not yet reached the level of his peak period, and it still needs time to continue to grow. Moreover, the fusion of soul and body has not reached perfection. At this time, this body can only exert 80% of his strength at most. In this case, he cannot activate the Sage mode. Forcing it to open will only turn himself into a pool of mud. In this case, Hashirama Senju's eyes were stern. Standing on the head of the wooden man, he saw the opportunity and put his hands together. Wood release. All bag techniques. As Hashirama began to use wood release, many wooden hands began to appear around the three Susanoo's. As soon as these hands appeared, they firmly grasped the feet of the Susanoo's, limiting the mobility of the three Gundams. Damn, this trick again. In the Battle of the Valley of the End, Hashirama Senju used this trick to grab the tail of Uchiha Madara's power suit, Susanoo. Although it was cut by the sword of Susanoo later, it still scared Uchiha Madara at the time. At this time, Uchiha Madara used the same trick again, controlling the Susanoo blade to completely destroy the wooden hand that restricted the movement of Susanoo. At this time, Senju Hashirama took the opportunity and destroyed the clone Susanoo without any loss. Uchiha Madara's original Susanoo was left. Looking at the 10 wooden men surrounding him, Uchiha Madara fell into silence. He definitely couldn't beat them. If he continued to fight, his body would really not be able to hold on. However, he didn't want to admit defeat so easily. So should he use the power of the summaries? Madara understood Hashirama, and conversely, Hashirama also understood Madara. Seeing Madara frowning and not cancelling Susanoo, he knew that Madara wanted to fight again. Madara, how about I admit defeat and let's not fight anymore? Uchiha Madara looked at Senju Hashirama, whose face was full of worry, and took a deep breath. He was not going to use the summaries, and even if he did, he would probably not be able to defeat Hashirama in his current condition. But it was not his style to give up so easily. Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara said to Senju Hashirama, "The last move." Hashirama was overjoyed and prepared, saying, "Come on." Madara did not act immediately, but put his hands together to summon a wooden man. The wooden man plus Susanoo is the power suit. Susanoo, wooden man version. With Susanoo as armor, this wooden man has been strengthened to a very high level in both defense and attack. Hashirama the wooden man took a huge long sword and began to sweep towards Hashirama's wooden man. Madara the attack of the Susanoo wooden man was really abnormal, and even Hashirama's wooden man could not defend against it, and was cut off in half. Seeing that the long sword was about to attack the wooden man, Hashirama immediately cancelled the chakra supply to the wooden man. Without the support of Hashirama's chakra, before Madara's attack arrived, the wooden man instantly turned into a useless rotten wood. Boom! A violent gust of wind whistled past. Standing on the ground, Hashirama Senju looked up at Uchiha Madara and said loudly, "Madara, we agreed to only use one move, don't cheat." Uchiha Madara looked down at Hashirama Senju and remained silent. After a long while, he made a sound and jumped off the Susanoo. As soon as he landed, Uchiha Madara almost lost his balance. From his sweaty forehead and violently heaving chest, it can be seen that Uchiha Madara's condition is not very good. Seeing this, Hashirama Senju hurried forward to support Madara and asked with concern, "Madara, are you okay? How is your body? Do you feel like dying? If you can't speak, don't speak, Pushing Hashirama away, Madara found a wooden stake, sat down and began to rest. "Hehe, you know I care about you." "Of course I know, otherwise I would have stabbed you when you were helping me just now." "Knife? You have nothing in your hands now, where did you get the knife? Why is your focus always so weird? I can't use a knife with my hands." Okay. 6. Chapter 160 Uchiha Madara's thoughts. Let's go back in time. When Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama were fighting in the Forest of Death, making a lot of noise. Standing on the highest point of the village, the Okage Rock, Senju Tobirama saw Uchiha Madara's Susanoo and his elder brother's Bokujin Jutsu at a glance. Immediately, he began to summon the younger ninjas and asked them to rush to the several entrances of the Forest of Death to stop the remaining ninjas who wanted to enter the forest. At the same time, he asked the middle and lower ninjas in the village to appease the villagers and tell them not to panic. After arranging these things, he had time to think about why Uchiha Madara, this cub, came to Konoha. Is it because of my elder brother? Senju Tobirama knew that the relationship between Uchiha Madara and his elder brother was very complicated. Once he knew the news of his elder brother's resurrection, Madara would most likely come back to the village to take a look, whether he believed it or not. But Tobirama couldn't figure it out. Since he resurrected his elder brother, Senju Hashirama has been wearing a mask except in the Senju mansion. He was not wearing the armor he usually wore, but home clothes. Even in this case, Tobirama didn't believe that anyone could recognize his elder brother. So, this option was ruled out by him. Then, since it was not because of his elder brother, why did Uchiha Madara return to Konoha? Was it because he was bored and tired of staying somewhere in the ninja world and missed home? What is this? The temptation to go home. Besides, is there still a home for Uchiha Madara in the village now? He left Konoha alone that year, and no ninja from the Uchiha family was willing to follow him. So, it should be impossible for Uchiha Madara to miss home. Then, why is it? Senju Tobirama could not have dreamed of it. The reason why Uchiha Madara returned to Konoha was because Tobirama discovered the truth about Madara's fake death, and also arrested the white Zetsu sent by him, causing Madara and black Zetsu to lose the information about Konoha, which made him realize that something was wrong, so he returned to Konoha to find out what was going on. However, as soon as the Uchiha returned to the village, he was discovered by Senju Hashirama. It was unknown whether he had bad luck or good luck. Is the battle over there over? After standing on the Okage rock and thinking for a while, Tobirama saw that the Susanoo and the wooden man in the distance had disappeared. He didn't care whether the battle was really over or not. He flashed and started to rush towards the Death Forest. In addition to the space-time ninjutsu Flying Thunder God, Senju Tobirama's instant body technique is also very powerful. It didn't take him long to get from the Okage rock to the place where Hashirama and Madara were fighting. Looking at the mess around him, Tobirama came to Hashirama and asked, "Where is Madara? Did you kill him?" Hashirama rolled his eyes at his brother and replied, "Madara is not our enemy now, how could I kill him? What about him? Of course he left." "How strange, you didn't try to keep him and let him return to Konoha." "Nonsense, of course I tried to keep him, but he refused to come back. Even if I said that after he died, I could let you help him revive and have a young body again, he refused to come back and said that he didn't trust you." Tobirama nodded. If he put himself in his shoes, he would not trust someone who killed his beloved brother and was always on guard against him and against his family. "You didn't tell him the secret of the resurrection technique, did you?" "I'm not stupid. Besides, you didn't tell me the secret of the resurrection technique, did you?" "Okay, let's go back to the village first. You can tell me from beginning to end about your encounter with Uchiha Madara." "Okay." Here, the two Senju brothers returned to the village. On the other side, Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu also walked out of Konoha village. Looking back, looking at the looming village, Black Zetsu asked, "Madara-sama, why didn't you agree to let Hashirama Senju return to Konoha? Why go back to Konoha? There is no place that I can stay for. In the current Konoha village, only Hashirama Senju, who was resurrected not long ago, can make Uchiha Madara a little concerned. As for the villagers, clansmen and so on, he doesn't care at all. Besides, where will he live if he goes back? Will he still live in the Uchiha house? Facing those who didn't follow him in the past, Madara will be very uncomfortable. And those people, when they see Madara again, they should also be embarrassed, and very embarrassed. Didn't Senju Hashirama say that he would let Senju Tobirama resurrect you? If you have a young body again, you won't have to go to great lengths to find an heir, or someone who can bear the Rinnegan. I don't believe that brat Tobirama. If Hashirama is my friend, then that brat is my enemy. I will never forget the moment he killed Izuna." At this point, Uchiha Madara suddenly had an idea. If Senju Tobirama can resurrect Senju Hashirama, can he resurrect his brother Izuna? Madara didn't know how Tobirama resurrected Hashirama, but there were only a few ways. First, resurrect using the body of the resurrected person. Uchiha Madara felt that this was a bit unreliable. Hashirama had been dead for so many years, and his body had long since turned into a pile of bones. Wouldn't it be too difficult to restore the bones to the appearance of an adult? Moreover, Uchiha Madara was unwilling to believe that Hashirama was resurrected in this way. Because Izuna's body had disappeared with the changes of the times. Also disappeared with the bodies of his parents, as well as the bodies of Hashirama's parents and others on the Senju side. If Tobirama's resurrection technique was really this method, then Izuna would not be able to be resurrected. Second, use a certain medium to summon the soul of the dead person in the Pure Land, and then put the soul into the body prepared in advance to complete the resurrection. This is what Uchiha Madara thinks is the most likely method. However, there are also many problems that need to be solved. In terms of summoning the soul of the Pure Land, Uchiha Madara knows that Senju Tobirama has a forbidden technique called the Impure World Reincarnation Technique. This technique can summon the soul of the dead person in the Pure Land, let the soul return to the world, and become the puppet of the caster. Then the question is, how can Senju Tobirama suck the soul out of the impure world body and put it into the body prepared in advance? Even if he has a way, how should the body used to resurrect the person be solved? After solving the body problem, the compatibility problem between the soul and the body also needs to be solved. There are too many problems and it is too big. Anyway, if Uchiha Madara does it himself, he will definitely be confused. It would be better to find a toolman who can bear the Rinnegan, and let this toolman use the Rinnegan in the Rinnegan to resurrect him. When he thought of the Rinnegan, Madara touched his eyes. This pair of eyes belonged to Izuna. If Senju Tobirama used the second method to resurrect Senju Hashirama, then Izuna would have a good chance of being resurrected. Of course, the prerequisite is that the brat Tobirama agrees to help, and he must also give the other party a certain amount of trust. Well, he needs to think about it carefully. Let's go, Zetsu, let's go back to the cemetery first. Okay, Lord Madara. Chapter 161. The 10th character review. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was the time for the monthly official inventory. During this period, whether it was Tobirama or the Third Hokage, the ninja worlds of both worlds were very peaceful. The former was because the First Ninja World War had just ended not long ago, and it had not been a year yet, so everyone was recuperating. Especially in this war, the three ninja villages of Kamagaku, Mist and Rock, which had lost the Second Hokage, were the ninja villages that least wanted to go to war again. On the Sand Village side, the Second Hokage Shimon worked hard to develop puppetry and the skills of controlling sand. Now was the time for him to grow up, so he naturally wouldn't look for trouble. As for Konoha, Tobirama Senju also needed time to arrange and plan his own plans to prepare for the unification of the ninja world in the future. The latter, the Third Hokage, basically did not hide the matter of resurrecting the Minato couple and Konoha White Fang. After a few days, the entire ninja world knew about it. This led to other ninja villagers shouting that they didn't believe it, while sending a large number of spies into Konoha to investigate whether the news was true. After getting accurate information, the shadows of other ninja villages were all numb for a while. Are there too many high-end combat forces on Konoha's side? The 5th generation Hokage Jiraiya, the Cold King Orochimaru, the 4th generation Hokage Namikaze Minato, the Konoha White Fang Hatake Sakamo, the 3rd generation Hokage and Uzumaki Kuyakina can barely be considered high-end combat forces. Other ninja villages are good to have 1 or 2 high-end combat forces, but Konoha has 6. It is no exaggeration to say that these 6 people alone can annihilate the other 3 major ninja villages except the Hidden Cloud Village. This has led to other ninja villages starting to be cautious and not daring to make any unusual moves. When they encounter Konoha ninjas doing tasks outside, they will avoid them as much as possible, for fear that Konoha will find a reason to start a war. But they also know that this is not a big deal. In order to fight against Konoha, the Hidden Cloud Village and the Hidden Rock Village have temporarily put aside their hatred and started to contact privately, wanting to unite to fight against Konoha. The Hidden Mist Village had no interest in the alliance because Madara had just taken office and the Land of Water was located overseas. The Hidden Sand Village had no interest either. First, they had not yet elected the 5th Hokage. Second, because of the one-tailed Jinchuriki Gaara, they did not want to be enemies with Konoha. Who said Gaara was the only person in the Hidden Sand Village who was qualified to be the Hokage? The village must have carefully considered his idea. The Akatsuki organization was also calm. Without the resurrection of the three-tail, there was no plan to capture the tailed beast. However, the look in Black Zetsu's eyes when he looked at Obito was getting more and more wrong. I don't know what he was planning in secret. In general, the ninja worlds on both sides were very peaceful, with a kind of calm before the storm. Hi, dear audience, I'm the new Tian. In the last issue, we talked about Uchiha Itachi, so this issue is naturally going to talk about his teammate in the Akatsuki organization, Hoshigaki. It's just that, when I was looking for information, I found that there are not many things to talk about Hoshigaki. If I only talk about him, I'm afraid it won't last for a whole episode. So this up decided that before talking about Hoshigaki, I would also talk about the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Demon, who has a close relationship with him. The total time of these 2 characters should be enough for a whole episode. So without further ado, let's start the official character inventory of this episode. In Tobirama's office, Senju Hashirama, who had already watched a special video, couldn't help but start shouting when he saw the light curtain appear for the second time. Senju Tobirama and Uzumaki Mito and others had no way to deal with the first generation Hokage's inexperienced look. In terms of identity, he is the first generation Hokage of Konoha, the brother of the second generation Hokage, and the husband of Uzumaki Mito. In terms of strength, let's put it this way, all the people present combined are not as good as this guy. After nearly a month of training, Hashirama Senju is now able to exert 90% of his peak strength. For a person as powerful as him, the later he gets, the slower his strength will recover. Conservatively estimated, if he is given another 3 to 6 months, he will be able to recover to his peak strength. So what else can they do with such a Tobirama Senju? Naturally, they will spoil him. Compared with Tobirama Senju's fuss, the 4th Hokage and his wife and Hokage Seikumo are very quiet on the 3rd Hokage's side. It's just that Uzumaki Kushina would look at the 3rd Hokage from time to time with an unhappy expression. Obviously, his anger towards the 3rd Hokage has not completely disappeared. If it weren't for Minato and Naruto's persuasion, Kushina might still want to beat up the 3rd Hokage. But she is no longer angry with Jiraiya and Kakashi. When the 3rd Hokage was in power, Jiraiya, the master, was at most irresponsible, and a beating would be enough. And Kakashi's side is similar. He was just a Chunin. It was obviously unrealistic for him to disobey the Hokage's order to contact and take care of Naruto. He could just beat him up and that would be it. Anyway, the culprit for all this was the 3rd Hokage. Kushina would never forgive him in the short term. 3rd Hokage. Danzo, my Zane, where are you? I miss you so much. Danzo. Then come down and keep me company. 3rd Hokage. I just miss you, not want to see you. Danzo. 6 Wash and Pufferfish Ghost is the user of same hata among the first 7 ninja swordsmen of the Hidden Mist Village. He is 249 meters tall and weighs 156.7 kilograms. He is a sturdy man who has surpassed the tallest person in the setting at the time, Shiko. He is also one of the few people who can surpass the ninja swordsman in terms of hardware. So he is gone. 7 ninja swordsmen. What is this? Senju Hashirama was very interested in this title. He looked at his younger brother with curiosity, wanting to get the answer from his younger brother first. Tobirama had no choice but to say, the 7 ninja swordsmen. Judging from the name, this should be a small group of 7 people in the Hidden Mist Village who use ninja swords. Yeah, what else? And, I don't know. TSK, I thought you were so smart, brother, that's it? Tobirama looked at Hashirama and replied expressionlessly, oh? Then what else can you analyze from this name, brother? I'm all ears, brother. I can't analyze any more information. Hearing this, Tobirama gritted his teeth and said, then you just look at the light curtain honestly for me. Unexpectedly, Hashirama suddenly turned around and said to his wife Mito, Mito, look, Tobirama is mean to me. This time, not only Tobirama was speechless, but also Mito and others were speechless. Hashirama, look at the light curtain first. Okay, Chapter 162 Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost. According to the routine that each of the 7 ninja swordsmen corresponds to a type of fruit, Wash and Puffer Ghost has already made it clear to everyone that he is the watermelon in the 7-child fruit platter. Now, let's go back to the 3rd Ninja World War. After the first batch of the 7 ninja swordsmen were killed by Might Dai's 8 Gates formation, Washan, Baiwajuzo, and Reiga, the shame of the 7, escaped by chance. Might Dai. Is he the genin wearing of green tights and thick eyebrows? Hearing this name, Hokage Seikumo remembered the very distinctive father and son he met when he took Kakashi to the ninja school. That meeting left a deep impression on him, and he even asked Kakashi to ask the child's name and told Kakashi that the child would surpass him in the future. Later, he kept paying attention to the father and son, and knew that they were very demanding in the training of physical skills, which further made him look at the two father and son with new eyes. A ninja with such perseverance will one day shine with his own light. Unfortunately, Seikumo died before Dai did not see the dazzling light that Dai shone. Yes, father, that's him. Sure enough, the people I admire will never be the last one. Seikumo didn't know the value of the 7 ninja swordsmen. But according to his experience, if someone can have his own name in a big ninja village, he must not be an ordinary person. Dai was able to kill 4 of them and let the other 3 flee back to the village in embarrassment. At the time, Dai should have grown to a very strong level. By the way, Kakashi, how did Dai die? After resurrection, Seikumo never saw Dai again, but only saw Guy, who had the same attributes as Dai. It can be seen that Dai must have sacrificed himself, otherwise he would not let his son train alone in the village. In the battle with the 7, Uncle Dai used the 8 Gates ninja array, which had great side effects, and killed 4 of the 7 before his soul returned to the Pure Land. Is that so? That's a pity. In the few years after returning to the village, Washan got into the leadership and became the superior of Hoshigakikism. But a new storm has emerged because Obito has grown up. He controlled the 4th Mizukage to manage the Hidden Mist Village, which led to the notoriety of the Blood Mist Village and the chaos within the village. It's not an exaggeration to say that there were many factions in the Hidden Mist village during this period. I thought it was very strange at the time. After the fourth Uchiha came to power, what he did was too ridiculous. How could he be so desperate to weaken the strength of his own village? People who didn't know thought that Uchiha was an undercover agent from another ninja village. The third Hokage took a puff of cigarette. Things that he couldn't understand before finally had an explanation. Uchiha was controlled by someone, so no matter how outrageous his actions and orders were, it was understandable. Yeah, now that I heard the light curtain burst out, I know that Uchiha was controlled by this kid Obito. I have to say that Obito is really a talent. It's not enough to harm Konoha, he also went to harm Kurigaku. By the way, was Obito so strong at the time? Could he control the shadow of a village? The fifth generation Jiraiya glanced at Minato and reminded him. Have you forgotten? Uchiha is the three-tailed Jinchuriki, and Obito just happens to have the mainstream Sharingan that restrains the tailed beasts. It's not incomprehensible that he can control Uchiha, the Jinchuriki. Oh, that's right, Uchiha is the three-tailed Jinchuriki. But even if he is a Jinchuriki, Obito should not be able to control him, right? After all, he only has one mainstream Sharingan. Well, Jiraiya fell into deep thought after hearing what Minato said. If the mainstream Sharingan can control the Jinchuriki so easily, why didn't Obito control Kushina back then? Kushina, who had just given birth to Naruto, was the weakest at the time. Since Obito could control the Jinchuriki, controlling Kushina in secret, whether it was to retaliate against Minato and the village, or to run away with the nine-tailed Jinchuriki afterwards, would be much better than him launching the Nine-Tails Rebellion. Therefore, it should not be so easy for Obito to control Uchiha. In other words, he was able to control Uchiha with the help of someone. And the person who helped him is also easy to guess. It is 100% Uchiha Madara. Minato, do you think this is the case? The fifth generation Jiraiya expressed his guess, which was recognized by Minato, the third generation Hokage and others. I feel that things should be as Jiraiya said. Then why did Obito go to Kurigaku? Sakumo knew that Obito was a classmate of his son Kakashi, and was said to be the last in the class. He did not ask why the last in the class could open the mainstream Sharingan on the spot, and the same was true when he asked Kakashi in private. He was very curious why this guy wanted to mess with the Hidden Mist village after messing with Konoha. Is this guy mentally ill? It's probably because of Rin. Kakashi's voice was a little dull. He glanced at Rin, then looked at his father, and said, "Back then, the Hidden Mist village used despicable means and cruel methods to seal the three tails into Rin's body. Their purpose was to let Rin return to Konoha and then remotely lift the seal, allowing the three tails to wreak havoc in the village. In desperation, Rin died in my hands, and this scene happened to be seen by Obito who came, so he wanted to retaliate against the Hidden Mist village and avenge Rin." Lin held Kakashi's hand and patted it gently, indicating that he didn't need to blame himself so much. Sakumo saw Lin's little action, and his whole expression became strange in an instant. There was joy, worry, and a hint of contempt. The best example of these is Xihuashan's arrangement of Kism to protect the ninjas of the Secret Code Department. The content of the mission is that Kism is required to escort the Secret Code Department along the way to the destination. According to the explanation of the animation and comics, the Secret Code Department is an intelligent force that analyzes intelligence. Xihuashan calls the Secret Code Department them, and it is obvious that he and this Secret Code Department are not in the same department. And Xihuashan arranged for Kism to guard the Secret Code Department, which is a bit of a sense of righteousness, and allows Kism to eliminate teammate when he really can't protect them to ensure that the intelligence will not be leaked. This order ensures that Kism can retrieve unscathed, which is quite considerate. Xihuashan's prediction was correct. On the way to Kism's mission, a robber really appeared. The Konoha and the ninjas, led by torture expert Marina Waibuki, surrounded the Anbu. Is there something about Konoha involved? Chapter 163. Heroes of the Mist, Change. The third Hokage was only slightly surprised. When he was counting the ninjas from other villages, he inevitably had a strange feeling when he saw the ninjas from his own village intruding. After a pause, the third Hokage recovered. Because destroying the missions of ninjas from other villages is really a very common thing. You know, the relationship between the 5 major ninja villages in the ninja world is not very good. There are only so many resources in the ninja world. If you don't rob others, others will rob you. Over time, hatred between villages has arisen. This leads to the fact that at certain times, even if it is not for obtaining any resources, other people's missions must be destroyed. In short, they just don't want the other party to have an easy time. The third Hokage can no longer remember why he sent Ibuki to destroy the mission of the Hidden Mist Village. Anyway, it's just a small matter, and it doesn't matter whether you think about it or not. The fifth Jiraiya and others also knew this clearly, and no one asked the third Hokage, but continued to look at the light curtain. Kizum saw that the person who came was Ibuki, the torture master with thunder-like means, and he followed Xiwaoshan's suggestion, knowing that it was impossible to do anything, and he killed all the members of the secret code department, including a female member who kept nagging him and wanted to eat and sleep with him. Kizum's actions fully illustrate the truth that if there is no woman in your heart, you will naturally be able to draw your sword. If there is no woman in your heart, you will naturally be able to draw your sword. This is a big truth in. As the person who plays the sword the best in the scene, Hatake Seikumo does not agree with this statement. It is true that without the existence of women, he can have more time to practice with the sword. But think about it the other way round, with the existence of women, he has a bond. Every time he does a mission or goes to the battlefield, he will have a kind of thought that he can't die. My wife is still waiting for me. If I die, others will spend my money to beat my children and sleep with my woman. Therefore, he desperately does not let himself die, and he will be more decisive and ruthless when using the sword. Back then, he encountered desperate situations on the battlefield many times, but it was because he thought of a woman who loved him and was waiting for him to return in the village that he burst out his potential, turned danger into safety many times, and finally became the White Fang of Konoha. Thinking of this, he looked at Kakashi and said, "Kakashi, you'd better find me a daughter-in-law as soon as possible. Don't worry, I won't despise you." After that, he looked at Nohara Lin again, and the meaning was very clear. Kakashi. Of course, this mysterious female member was actually tricked by the animation team to act malicious drama. I will talk about this later when I talk about Kizum. Back to the topic, after Kizum escaped, Konoha's intelligence was empty. The appearance of Ibuki gave Kizum, who had just started out, a blow to the fledgling Kizum, and Kizum also let Ibuki see what a ruthless person is. Both sides left a shadow in each other's hearts. After this incident, Xiwaoshan inexplicably became a bad guy. The most outrageous thing is that it is rumored that Xiwaoshan sold the information that Kizum had kept by killing the female ninja of the secret code department to a neighboring country, so Kizum chopped Xiwaoshan into pieces in anger and cut it into a watermelon platter. Later, he also sprayed Xiwaoshan as a wanted criminal of Kirigaku. Good guy, Kirigaku is rarely loyal to the village, and even deserves the title of hero in the dark, but he became a defector of Kirigaku. I was shocked for a whole year. In order to express the shock of itself, the official book evaluating Xiwaoshan Fugugiwi appeared on the screen. The official book said, Xiwaoshan Fugugiwi also carried out underground missions to protect the Blood Mist village. He was once a member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. He has a deep city and a strong sense of vigilance. People around him also look at him differently. The ruthless actions he took were also for the sake of that village. To sum up, he is a dark man who wields same Hada, cuts off the bodies and lives of his enemies, and guards the blood mist. Why do I feel that this man is a bit like Danzo? As soon as this was said, everyone looked at Hatake Seikumo in surprise. What's wrong? Am I wrong? Hatake Seikumo touched his cheek. He didn't understand why the third generation and the others looked at him like this. Isn't Danzo hiding in the darkness? Even if it is unknown, he is silently contributing to the village. Dad, you have just been resurrected, and there are many things you don't know yet. Beside him, Kakashi wanted to organize his words and briefly explain to his father the great achievements of Danzo, but he saw Seikumo waving his hand. Forget it, I can probably guess some things, you don't need to say more, just look at the light curtain. Hatake Seikumo is not a fool. Everyone's surprised looks, plus Kakashi's hesitant look, how could he not know that Danzo's character has collapsed? It turns out that Danzo's adoption of orphans, secret experiments, snatching talented ninjas from small families, being ruthless to enemies and even more cruel to his own people, and other misunderstood deeds are not misunderstandings at all. It turns out that he is such a big villain. Then, the rumor that targeted him and caused him to commit suicide, was it also Danzo's hand? Now that I think about it, the mission that year was originally a highly confidential matter of the village. Under normal circumstances, even if he failed and returned to the village, it would not be spread everywhere in the village. The teammate he rescued would not have spread it everywhere as long as he had a normal IQ. Therefore, the fact that he failed in the mission in order to rescue his teammates must have been fueled by a behind-the-scenes mastermind. The only people who can do this are the Third Hokage and Shinguro Danzo. The two consultants, Utate Kahara and Mito Kadawong, are not good enough. Thinking of this, Hatake Seikumo turned his head to look at the Third Hokage. Coincidentally, the Third Hokage also looked at him at the same time. When they looked at each other, the Third Hokage showed an apologetic look. It was not known whether he was apologizing for not stopping Danzo, or whether he was the mastermind of the matter. Shaking his head secretly, Hatake Seikumo decided not to pursue the matter. Anyway, it would not have any effect if he pursued it. If you really want to be serious, it was his choice that caused the mission to fail, which led to heavy losses for Konoha. Afterwards, he could not withstand the pressure of public opinion and committed suicide, which was not considered homicide. He and Kakashi will continue to live in Konoha, and some things will be forgotten. But this time, he will not be so stupid to commit suicide. By the way, Kakashi, you have been either recovering from your injuries or going out on missions during this period. I haven't really studied how your swordsmanship is. After watching the light curtain, we will go to the training ground to practice well. Kakashi did not reply, but looked at Minato Namake's. The look in his eyes revealed a message. Teacher, save me. Namake's Minato raised his lips slightly, gave Kakashi an encouraging smile, and then turned his head away from Kakashi. Kakashi. Teacher, why are you like this? Minato. What? Teacher, this is for your own good. It seems that Hatake Seikumo is not the only one who has changed after his resurrection. Chapter 164 Comics and Animation. In addition to the evidence in the official book, we can actually do a simple reading comprehension based on the original comics. The environment of this comic is in the memory of Kizum being entered into his brain by Mashiro way back, and the memory mainly consists of two events. Kizum followed Xiwashan's hint and eliminated the secret code department, and then Kizum assassinated Xiwashan. The costumes before and after these two events are obviously different, reflecting Kizum's changes in time and identity. Moreover, after meeting Ibuki, Kizum took the initiative to choose Xiwashan's hint to kill his teammates and keep the intelligence, and there was no ambiguous drama added to the goals of the secret code department in the animation. Kizum does not have emotional problems and resents Xiwashan. Animation. Comics. What does this mean? Seeing that the three people who had just resurrected all looked confused, Kakashi immediately explained to Seikumo in a low voice. As for the Minato couple, it was not Uzumaki Naruto who explained to them, but Uchiha Sasuke. Arrogant Sasuke, what are you doing? I will explain it to my parents. Haha. Sasuke looked up, looked at Naruto with contempt, and said, are you sure you can explain it to your uncle and aunt? Of course you can, right? It's okay, Naruto, just let Sasuke tell us. Touching Naruto's hair, Minato looked at Sasuke with a gentle face. During the period after resurrection, Minato and Kushina basically ignored the affairs of the village and put all their energy on Naruto, trying to make up for the gap of more than 10 years as much as possible. Through this period of time, the couple also understood some of Naruto's nature. If Naruto was asked to make a battle plan in the battle, perhaps he would use his beast-like intuition to bring everyone a surprise. But asking Naruto to explain something is a bit difficult for him. Don't be sad, son. Your talent is not here. Is that so? Mom. Of course, I'm your mom. Your dad and I can't lie to you. Well, I understand. Let's give it to Sasuke this time. Hehe, you're really a good son of your mom. When Kakashi and Sasuke were explaining the resurrection trio, the content of the original comic appeared on the screen. After Xiwashan was killed by Kizum, the fourth Mizukage controlled by Obito immediately appeared and said, thank you for your hard work, Kizum. You can't take your subordinates lightly. This shows that after Kizum returned to the village, Xiwashan still regarded him as a capable subordinate. Xiwashan's subordinates are the only ones who can fight. They would rather pit Kizum than anyone else. Looking back, when the Mizukage appeared, Kizum's hand was not on Tsunade, and he was in a state of negotiation without being humble or arrogant. It was obvious that there was something fishy between the two. As for the animation, it was another random change, and Kizum was drawn holding the hilt of a knife, and was alert to the fourth Mizukage. The animation treatment is more like Kizum killing his superior and being caught by the top leader on the spot. Unlike the comics, although there are only a few shots, it is obvious that Kizum and the Mizukage have a deal. The excuse is what Obito said, Xiwashan is colluding with the enemy. Excuse me, Obito, a despicable outsider who caused chaos in the Mist Village, how can he have the nerve to say that Xiwashan is colluding with the enemy, and this accusation of collusion is so strong? It is nothing more than Obito using this excuse to instruct Kizum to kill Ziwa-shan. Why does Obito want to kill Ziwa-shan and let Kizum do it? In Tobirama's office, Tobirama, who had taken great pains to explain the issues of animation, comics and original works to Tobirama Senju, heard that his elder brother asked another question, and immediately instructed Sarutobi Hiruzen, saying, "You come and explain it to my elder brother." Isn't it Tobirama who should explain it? I'm afraid of high blood pressure. Hashirama was puzzled. What does this have to do with high blood pressure? Tobirama did not answer, but looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, "Hiruzen, if you don't want to say it, I can let Danzo say it." Sarutobi Hiruzen shuddered immediately, and quickly said to Hashirama, "It's easy to understand that Obito wants to kill Ziwa-shan." As soon as Hiruzen opened his mouth, he successfully attracted Hashirama's attention. "What do you mean?" "You may not know, the first generation, for some reason, Obito hated the Hidden Mist village very much. The purpose of his control of the fourth Hokage is actually easy to guess, that is, to cause chaos in the Hidden Mist. For this purpose, it is easy to understand that he wants to kill Ziwa-shan, who is loyal to the Hidden Mist. As for why Kizum was chosen to be killed, there should be two purposes. First, Kizum is Ziwa-shan's subordinate, and he can easily contact Ziwa-shan. Second, with this relationship, it is convenient for Obito to control Kizum. At the time, whether to accept Kizum as a subordinate or find a reason to kill Kizum, it all depends on his thoughts." "Oh little monkey, you said it very well, concise and powerful, and it is very accurate. If nothing unexpected happens, the next Hokage will most likely be you." Hashirama's praise made Hiruzen very happy. He subconsciously glanced at Danzo with his peripheral vision and found that Danzo's face was as black as he expected, just like touching charcoal. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but smile complacently, secretly saying, "In the work Naruto, I was originally the third generation Hokage, and now I have the support of the first generation and Tobirama teacher. How can you compete with me, Danzo?" "What do you have to compete with me?" Danzo is worthy at being the person who knows Hiruzen the best. Seeing Hiruzen's smug look, he glared at him fiercely and said to himself, "Hiruzen, don't be so smug. When I please Lady Mito and ask her to persuade me, I don't believe that the first generation will not change his mind. I also have an idea for Mr. Tobirama. Do you really think that I have been doing good things for nothing? I have information about most of the single women in the village. I will introduce one to Mr. Tobirama. With this relationship, even if Mr. Tobirama doesn't help me, we will not help each other. As for whether Mr. Tobirama will accept my matchmaking, I have a way. At the time, I only need to say one sentence. Mr. Tobirama, you don't want to have no descendants, right? With the persuasion of Lady Mito and the first generation, the chance of success is quite high. Therefore, it is still unknown who will win the position of the third generation Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen, let's wait and see. There is only one purpose for choosing Kizum, he is the easiest to get close to Ziwa-shan." Then Obito added, "You are now the master of Same Hata and my subordinate. This means that when Kizum was given the mission, he was promised that Same Hata would be inherited by Kizum after the mission was completed. What happened afterwards?" Kizum decisively replied, "Will I be killed by you too?" This continues to indicate that the two have a deal. Obviously, Kizum, who obtained Same Hata at this time, put himself in the position of Ziwa-shan. He was very suspicious that after cooperating with the Hokage this time, the Hokage might arrange someone to kill him in the same way as he killed Ziwa-shan in the future. In order to dispel Kizum's doubts, Obito chose to show up in person to explain. But it can still be seen that when Kizum was holding the hilt of the sword and being alert, it was when Obito showed his true form. I can only say that the animation department is awesome. A comic with a few shots can be changed so outrageously. I'm afraid they are deliberately lengthening it. Laughs. Chapter 165. Minato blames himself. Back to the point, why did Obito go to such great lengths to get rid of Ziwa-shan? And even if Ziwa-shan was not a traitor, how could he be called a loyal retainer of Kurigaku? The joke is not nonsense, the evaluation on the official book is enough to explain everything. On the screen, the official book about the evaluation of Ziwa-shan Papa Ghost was once again displayed in front of everyone. Obito wanted to collar a Kurigaku, and it was necessary to kill such a person who was very scheming and had deep feelings for the village. As for Ziwa-shan's underground mission in guarding the Blood Mist village, it is also easy to understand. Because the Blood Mist village during the third generation Hokage period was not as bad as when Obito came. This can be proved in the comics. At the time, Rin had just been penetrated by Kakashi, and was seen by Obito, who rushed over. The confused Obito immediately turned on the runaway mode. And at this time, the Karigaku ninja had already called itself the Blood Mist Village, and the ninjas had a strong sense of honor and were proud to be the Blood Mist. So in the official book, the Blood Mist that protects Watermelon Mountain the best is correct. On the screen, the rampaging Obito was slaughtering the surrounding Karigaku ninjas. One of the Karigaku ninjas saw this and said loudly, "Don't underestimate our Blood Mist Village." After saying that, he rushed up and was killed by Obito. If I hadn't fallen into a coma at the time, maybe I could have persuaded Obito to come back at the time. Looking at Obito, who was killing people on the screen, Kakashi fell into deep self-blame. In 1,000 words, Rin was indeed killed by him with Raikiri. It was a pity that Obito saw it, which prompted Obito to awaken the main Kime Sharingan, laying the groundwork for the death of the Fourth Hokage and his wife in the future. Kakashi, don't think too much. I asked you to take action at the time. Even if you didn't take action against me, I would have committed suicide. After comforting Kakashi, Nohara Rin turned his eyes to the screen again. She knew that Obito liked her, but she didn't expect that the degree to which Obito liked her was beyond her imagination. On the light screen, Obito, who had gone crazy with killing, really shocked her. While she was somewhat happy that Obito cared so much about her, she felt sorry for him. Beside her, Hatake Seikumo's expression changed again. He was also shocked by Obito's behavior. It's not about how strong Obito is, but his feelings for Rin. How much pain and despair did it take for him to advance directly from the Tsunagatama Sharingan to the main Kime? Originally, he wanted to match his stupid son with Nohara Rin. In his opinion, the two of them already had feelings for each other, and except for the age mismatch, everything was so natural. But now, he decided not to interfere in the feelings of young people. It's better to leave the things between the three of them to solve by themselves. Kakashi, you must handle the emotional issues between the three of you. Don't worry, Dad. I understand. No, you don't understand. Hatake Seikumo looked at Kakashi seriously and continued, think about it, if you can't handle it well, with the ability of Obito's main Kime Sharingan, he can sneak into Konoha and run to your room late at night every day to wake you up to pee. How terrifying is that? Kakashi was frowning and replied speechlessly, well, Obito shouldn't be that boring. Listen to me, your dad is an experienced person. Huh. Have you ever woken people up to pee in the middle of the night? No, I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. Then what you said just now is bullshit. Very good, Kakashi, I can't wait to test your strength. Kakashi. When Hatake Seikumo made up his mind to carefully examine his son's strength, the 4 generations of the family on their right side also sided Obito on the light screen. I think, at the time, Obito hoped that I could appear. After all, my Flying Thunder God is a time-space ninjutsu. Theoretically, I can instantly reach the place marked by my Flying Thunder God mark. I didn't rush to the scene to prevent Lin's death. I guess he hated me at the time. Namikaze Minato sighed and continued. It's funny to say that I have the time-space ninjutsu of Flying Thunder God, but when Obito, Kakashi, and Lin met the enemy, I didn't show up, causing Obito to be pressed under the rock, and we all thought he was dead. Later, I didn't stop Nohara Lin from being captured, making her an unstable 3-tailed Jinchuriki, and I didn't stop Kakashi from killing Lin, which made Obito feel pain and despair. I'm really an unqualified teacher. Minato said it very sadly, and so is Kushina. She still remembered that Obito was very cheerful and kind when he was a child. Now he has become like this, it's really fate. By the way, didn't they say that Obito would go to Rin to chat from time to time? We have been resurrected for so many days, how come we haven't seen him once? I may know this. Namikaze Minato smiled awkwardly and said, Rin told me that the last time Obito saw her was the day we were resurrected, and the time when Obito left Konoha was about the same time when you, my wife, beat Kakashi and Jiraiya. I wonder if Obito saw this scene and was afraid of being beaten by you, so he didn't come to see Rin for more than 20 days. So it's my fault? Kushina rolled her eyes. As for what Obito did, she sympathized with him, but she still had to beat him. Even Kakashi didn't escape her beating. Obito, the guy who killed them and many Konoha ninjas, still wanted to avoid being beaten. It was impossible to think about it. If you see Obito in the village, remember to notify me. Understood. The comics and official books have all matched up at this point. All the above contents can be reviewed again. The blood mist during the third Mizukage period was relatively normal, until Obito used illusion to control the fourth Mizukage to persecute Karigaku. Ngzewashan saw the Karigaku in turmoil. He did not defect like Reiga, nor did he assassinate the fourth Mizukage like Zabuza. Instead, he tried to get into the upper echelons and found out that the Mizukage wanted a group of civilians from the secret code department to carry out the mission, and there were no bodyguards. Ngzewashan, who was quite scheming, was worried that the village's intelligence would be leaked, so he arranged for his capable subordinate Kizum to guard him, suggesting that he would kill his teammates as a last resort. Sure enough, the Konoha torture master really appeared, and he was well prepared. Who would believe that Obito did not tell Konoha about it? Thank you for the 100 book coins rewarded by 159 YSK. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 166. Watermelon Mountain Inventory completed. Kizum completed the mission successfully according to Ngzewashan's suggestion to kill his teammates and keep the information, but his personal mentality also exploded. Obito, seeing that the information was not given in vain, failed to stir up the water in the ninja world and make Karigaku enemies everywhere, took a new look at Ngzewashan and wanted to kill him to eliminate future troubles. However, Obito himself was controlling the fourth Mizukage and it was inconvenient for him to do it, so he soon used the identity of Mizukage to coerce and lure Kizum, and eliminated Ngzewashan with same habit and position as rewards. Ngzewashan's status was not as good as Mizukage's, and Kizum, who absolutely obeyed orders, could only be forced to carry out the task of Mizukage. So, Ngzewashan, who was not vigilant about his subordinates, was plotted by Kizum without even pulling out same Hada, and was accused of colluding with the enemy country after his death. From this point of view, Obito has made contributions to Konoha, or to other ninja villages except Karigaku. Hearing the words of the third Hokage, everyone's faces were a little complicated. They all have their own judgments about the strength of the seven swordsmen. Judging from the information on the surface, each of the seven swordsmen has the strength of a veteran genin, and the best of them have the strength of an elite genin. During the Third World War, the seven swordsmen bypassed Konoha's frontline troops and went deep into the heart of the Land of Fire. At the time, if Might Dai had not stood up and fully opened the 8 gates, killing 4 people with his own life and driving away 3, Konoha would have suffered a great loss. To put it more seriously, the frontline troops may have lost the war with Karigaku because of the harassment of the seven swordsmen in the rear. This is not an exaggeration. In the absence of Kage-level ninjas, the seven swordsmen are the ceiling of ordinary jonins. Fortunately, Konoha produced a wall-hanging Might Dai, who kicked the first generation of the seven swordsmen into the 3 auspicious treasures and stabilized the rear, which allowed Konoha to win the victory over Karigaku. Obito was able to kill such a person, which was indeed a great achievement. Old man, do you still want to reward Obito for his merits? The third Hokage took a puff of cigarette and replied lightly, not impossible. The fifth Hokage Jiraiya asked in surprise, old man, are you serious? The third Hokage shook his head, it depends on the opinions of the fourth Hokage and all of you. Because of the resurrection technique, Obito's problem has changed from the original unforgivable to the current minor. Whether to pardon Obito depends mainly on what the Konoha high-level officials think. It just so happens that the fourth Hokage and his wife are the parties involved in the Nine Tails Rebellion, and their opinions are very important. Don't rush this. Minato did not express his opinion directly. He hasn't even met Obito yet, and it is indeed too early to talk about pardoning him now. Minato looked at Kushina and thought to himself, at the very least, let my wife vent her anger first. By the way, what do you think about this? The third Hokage and the fifth Hokage Jiraiya looked at each other, and the third Hokage replied, Jiraiya and I both tend to let Obito return to Konoha. Is that so? Then let's talk about it after we talk to Obito himself. Okay, let's remember that Obito used Kizum to kill Ngzewashan, and see if we need to use it later. When Obito returns to Konoha, this matter can be used as his achievement, and he can be portrayed as a ninja who has been performing secret missions for many years for the sake of that village. At the time, when Itachi returns, the same operation can be carried out. If Obito does not come back, then this matter will naturally not be used. In summary, Ngzewashan used only Kizum to protect the Hidden Mist village under the most unfavorable circumstances, which is indeed a feat. And even people like Zabuza who tried to revive the Hidden Mist village are struggling to run alone as a rebellious ninja outside. Uchiha is still in the organization after his death, and is still a senior ninja in the Book of Formations. It is considered to be one of the few decent groups among the 7 generations of the group. As for the crime of colluding with the enemy country, it has not been circulated in later generations. Referring to the case of the 4th Hokage being overturned by Matarama, Uchiha can barely imagine that Matarama also overturned his case. Of course, since there is no evidence, I will stop here. Uchiha, who supported Karigaku for a while with his wisdom and life, how can he not be considered to have fought for Karigaku? Matarama wanted to marry after hearing this, and Chojuro wanted to abdicate after hearing this. Matarama. Ugly rejection, thank you. Teacher Tobirama, do you want to send some people to Karigaku? What do you think? In Tobirama's office, Shimura Danzo looked at Tobirama and said with a little excitement, since we know that the 4th Hokage is this man named Yajira, can we make arrangements in advance? Whether it is to kill the other party or to win over the other party, this is a very good choice for us. So that's what you were talking about. Turning his head and looking at the light screen again, Tobirama continued, I sent people a long time ago. Huh. When did it happen? After Uchiha Itachi finished his inventory. Shimura Danzo knocked his head in annoyance, angry at his carelessness. Yajira had appeared in Uchiha Itachi's video a long time ago. Although he was only mentioned briefly, it also showed that he was the 4th Hokage. He should have reminded Tobirama at the time, but he missed an opportunity to leave a good impression. He really regretted it. Tobirama, you sent people to Karigaku to contact the future 4th Hokage. Isn't this sending them to their deaths? Beside him, Hashirama, who heard the conversation between Tobirama and Danzo, was a little unhappy. He was very dissatisfied with Tobirama's behavior. Don't worry, I didn't send out ninjas, but a serious caravan. Caravan? Yes, let these people contact Yajira's clansmen through business, and indirectly win over Yajira. The disadvantage of doing this is obvious, that is, it takes too long, but the advantage is also obvious. People who do these things are not easy to be detected. After all, they are really doing business, not being spies. Just keep it in mind. Finally, make a strength evaluation that everyone likes to see. In the 4th Shinobi World War, Uchiha was resurrected by Kabuto Yakushi in the form of impure world reincarnation. Kabuto Yakushi. Yes, it's me again. However, Uchiha's weapon Same Hada has long fallen into the hands of Kizum, resulting in him having no weapon to use. Many allied ninjas laughed at him, saying that you, a 7 swordsman without a sword, are just a younger brother. As a result, Uchiha used the technique of the 1,000 hair needles to turn him into a younger brother, suppressing the allied ninjas, and was evaluated as a man who did not have Same Hada in his hands and would not have any blind spots. Finally, his soul ascended to heaven. The ninja swordsmen are known for their ninja swords. Except for the ninja swordsmen of the beheading sword lineage, the difference between those with swords and those without swords is very large. When Uchiha was alive, he was so strong that even Kizum had to rely on his connections and the deployment of ninja tools to kill Uchiha, who did not have time to draw his sword. In terms of strength, Uchiha is definitely inferior to Kizum, who holds Same Hada, otherwise this person would be overstating the matter. After all, in the original work, he did not even have a plot to play with Same Hada. But among the 7 swordsmen, he is at least in the forefront. A scum like Kuroshiraiga did not even qualify for the impure world reincarnation during the 4th war. The 2-meter-high watermelon mountain was extremely useless, but Kabuto Yakushi still spent a huge amount of money to bring the person out of the dirty world. This shows the disparity between the 7 people. Chapter 167 Hoshigakikism. Is Kuroshiraiga really that bad? The character of Uchiha Pufferfish has been reviewed. Everyone has a similar opinion about this person. He is a shrewd, intelligent, and powerful Karigaku ninja. If Obito, the traitor, hadn't killed him in advance, maybe this person could have gone one step further and become an indispensable member of the Karigaku. If Uchiha Pufferfish hadn't made everyone impressed by his own strength and quality, Kuroshiraiga is the opposite example. In the light screen video, the name Kuroshiraiga appeared 3 times, and every time he was mentioned, it was not a good thing. In the end, it was even said that this guy was not even qualified to be reincarnated by Kabuto Yakushi. It is conceivable how much Up looked down on him. He was simply not regarded as a human being. Before it happened, I didn't believe that Kuroshiraiga would be so weak, but the fact is, Jiraiya Godami glanced at Minato, who was speaking, and continued, some time ago, Team G accepted a mission, and they happened to encounter Kuroshiraiga in the mission. This guy is a bit smart, and he knew that was not easy to deal with, so he used a strategy to lure the tiger away from the mounting, and transferred away. In this way, he could deal with Niji, Tenten, and Sai while was away. Hearing this, Minato immediately reacted, then Reiga was defeated by Niji and the other three. Jiraiya Godami nodded, that is, because Rock Lee has not recovered from his injuries. He asked Sai, who was previously in the route, to replace him and join Team. If Rock Lee was there, he wouldn't need to do much, just open the third gate of the 8 gates. I guess he could kill Reiga by himself. Teacher Jiraiya, you were going too far. I have seen the video of the tuning exam. Even if Lee opened 3 gates, his speed at best only reached the level of a Chunin. After all, Reiga is a veteran Chunin. He shouldn't be killed by Lee alone, right? Jiraiya shrugged and replied indifferently, I don't know. Anyway, Reiga has been killed by Niji, Tenten, and Sai. If you want to know my guess, you can ask Orochimaru if he is willing to find Reiga's body tissue and bring him out of the world to fight with Lee. Forget it, I'm not that bored. Minato shook his head. He was just a little surprised at Reiga's strength. After all, those who can enter the 7 swordsmen are the elites of the Hidden Mist village. There is no reason for them to be so weak. But the reality is that Reiga is just so weak. In the original plot, he can be said to be killed by the 3 little ones of the Kai team and Naruto. Here, because Lee did not receive Tsunade's treatment, Kabata Yakashi's medical ability was still inferior to Tsunade's. Although Lee's ninja career was saved, he still had to go through a long recovery period. At this time, in order for the Kai team to accept the mission smoothly, Jiraiya transferred Sai to the Kai team, hoping to use Kai's enthusiasm to correct Sai's personality and thinking. Now it seems that the situation is not bad. During this time in the Kai team, he has taken over Tenten's work and became the spit in the team. He also teamed up with Niji and Tenten to kill Reiga, which gave Jiraiya and Konoha a big face. It's really a cause for celebration, a cause for celebration. After talking about the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost, it's the turn of Hoshigaki Kisame, a man with a shark face who is different from the regular species in Naruto. Since Naruto has ended, AB will probably never fill in the gaps about the story between Kisame's ancestors and sharks in his lifetime, so I suspect that these sharks in the Hidden Mist village may have been smuggled in from the neighboring One Piece. Laughs. Okay, enough joking, now let's get back to the point. In the first half of the video, many peripherals of Kisame have been pieced together. In the second half of the video, we will combine the information and the original work to complete the story of Kisame. The One Piece next door. What does this mean? Tobirama's office. Senju Hashirama was very interested in the sudden appearance of One Piece. He patted Tobirama's shoulder and wanted his younger brother to explain it. Tobirama sighed and could only say helplessly, Brother, you should be a human being. How can I know what One Piece is? Although I am smart, wise, genius, and outstanding, I am still a human being. No matter how many times you ask me about things I don't know, I still don't know. I don't care, brother, use your invincible brain to analyze it for me. Seeing that Hashirama started to play tricks, what else could Tobirama do? He could only fool around first. No, he should analyze it first. Analyzing from the 3 words One Piece, this should be a work about pirates, and in this work, there are also sharks who look like Kisame. Yeah, brother, isn't your analysis good? Go on, brother, I'm listening. Senju Hashirama nodded happily and approved of Tobirama's analysis. No more, I've finished my analysis. Haha, the smart, wise, genius and outstanding 2nd generation Hokage. That's it? Tobirama was speechless and turned around to ignore his crazy brother. Hashirama didn't care when he saw his brother ignored him. He smiled and said to his wife, Mito, I want you to share with me. Before Hashirama finished speaking, Mito interrupted him with a sneer, if you don't want to sleep in the cabin today, shut up. Okay, we all know that before Kisame defected to Karigaku, he was the confidant of the former Same Harbor Master, Ziwash and Pufferfish. At this time, the situation in Karigaku changed dramatically. Obito, who controlled the 4th Mizukage, used his power to arrange for the ninjas of the Secret Service to leave the village for a mission and secretly connected them to Konoha. This behavior is basically equivalent to sending a group of fat sheep to Jinyangan. We know what happened later. Kisame got a hint from Ziwashan. When facing Ibuki's Konoha troops, he knew that he could not protect everyone. In order to prevent the information from being leaked, he simply killed all the people in the Secret Service. It is worth mentioning that in the original work, the female member only asked Kisame out of politeness if he wanted to have dinner together. After being rejected, she decisively gave up and did not mention it again. So there is no saying that Kizum hates Xiaoshan because he killed his beloved female member. It is not the first time that the animation team has messed up the characters, making the Code Division, which is carrying out confidential missions, look like a group of fools on a spring outing. As for when the female member was killed by Kizum, she said that Kizum's life was too difficult, which is a bit fatalistic. In this incident, there is no conflict between Kizum and Xiaoshan. Chapter 168 Resurrection of Danzo. Until Obito was unable to control the fourth Mizukage, and Xiaoshan was intentionally or unintentionally interfering with the fourth Mizukage's actions, Obito simply prepared to kill Xiaoshan once and for all. Kizum followed the order given by the fourth Mizukage, which was actually given by Obito, and made a perfect deployment, and killed Xiaoshan by surprise. However, some people believe that Xiaoshan is actually a member of the previous generation, the third Mizukage, and the third Mizukage was controlled by Uchiha Madara in the later period. He is the remnant of the power of the previous Mizukage. Obito wanted to clear up everything about the third Mizukage because of Lin's matter, so he wanted to kill Xiaoshan. Of course, this matter is not true, there is no actual evidence, it is just speculation by some people. Uchiha Madara also controlled the third Mizukage. The third Hokage was shocked when he saw this. Involving Uchiha Madara is not a trivial matter, even if it may be a false news in the past, they have to treat it with caution. You know what, the things that the third Mizukage did in the later period were actually a bit like what he did after being controlled by someone. God Amy-sama is right. Although the third Mizukage has a cruel personality and adopts an extremely violent rule in the Hidden Mist village, he is not an idiot. He should know where the base of the ninja village is. The persecution of the bloodliner family is really a bit confusing. If you want to say which ninja village has the most bloodliner limits, it is undoubtedly the Hidden Mist village. The famous ones are Ice Release, Boiling Release, Melting Release, Corpse Vein, and Hell Release. In addition to these 5 famous bloodliner limits, there are some less famous bloodliner limits. Logically speaking, the Hidden Mist village, which has so many bloodliners, should have a strong combat power. But the fact is that the Hidden Mist village has never been very strong among the 5 major ninja villages. During the Second Hokage period, it was at most on par with the Hidden Mist village. The village's combat power is not the strongest, and their Hokage also persecutes the bloodliner family, further weakening its combat power. This operation is very puzzling. You're talking as if Konoha has never done this before. Seeing the heated discussion of the third Hokage and others, Sasuke couldn't help but sneer. Sasuke, when has Konoha ever done this before? Naruto looked at Sasuke in confusion. In his impression, Konoha didn't seem to persecute the bloodliner family, right? Have you forgotten? Wasn't our Uchiha family destroyed in this way? Sasuke didn't deliberately lower his voice when he spoke, causing the third Hokage and others who were just discussing how outrageous the Mizukage's actions were to immediately quiet down. Sasuke, Konoha is different from Karigaku. Oh? I'd like to hear what the 5th Hokage has to say. I can't say I have a good opinion, but I think there is an essential difference between these two things. The 5th Hokage Jiraiya could see that Sasuke was very dissatisfied with the Konoha high-level officials for the destruction of his family. Yes, it was Uchiha Itachi who started to massacre the Uchiha clan, and perhaps Uchiha Obito also played a role in it. But in essence, it was the Konoha high-level officials who gave the order to Uchiha Itachi. It would be strange if Sasuke didn't resent Konoha. The reason why he didn't show it was, firstly, because he still wanted to live in Konoha, and secondly, he wanted Konoha to resurrect his parents. Thirdly, for Naruto and others, he didn't want to make things difficult for his friends, so he didn't completely break up with Konoha. But just now, when he heard the third Hokage and others condemning the third Mizukage's outrageous actions, he couldn't help but speak out his true feelings. Now that he had spoken his true feelings, he would no longer hide them. He, Uchiha Sasuke, expressed his attitude. He was very dissatisfied with Konoha. In the history of the entire Karigaku, except for the Kage clan, whose brains were not working well, other blood-inherited families have never rebelled. Let's take an inappropriate example, such as the Hyuga clan, the Gekko clan and other families with blood-inherited families. They have no intention of rebelling. Do you see that Konoha persecuted them? No, right? Sasuke didn't reply, but just sneered. The 5th generation Jiraiya didn't care and continued, let's talk about your Uchiha clan. At the time, the mainstream thought of the Uchiha clan was the radicals headed by Uchiha Setsuna. They wanted to seize the power of Konoha by force. If you were the Hokage facing such an emotionally unstable family that wanted to rebel, what would you do? Don't blame the old man. He did a good enough job at the time. He shaped your brother Itachi into a person with the thinking of a Hokage. He not only appeased the hearts of the Uchiha clan, but also bought himself enough time. If it weren't for the scum Danzo messing around later, the Uchiha family would not necessarily be exterminated. So what you mean is that all the sins were done by Danzo? Jiraiya shook his head. I'm not shirking responsibility, but most of the responsibility should be attributed to Danzo. If he hadn't coveted Shisei's Mangekyou Sharingan, which led to Shisei's suicide, things really wouldn't have come to this point. Haha, anyway, Danzo is dead, you can say whatever you want. After saying this, Sasuke shut his mouth, with an expression that said no strangers allowed and he didn't want to talk. Seeing Sasuke like this, the fifth Jiraiya secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that with Sasuke, the Uchiha clan genocide was temporarily over. But the more Jiraiya thought about it, the angrier he became. Obviously, the incident happened during the time when the Third Hokage was in power, so why did he have to explain it to Sasuke? The more he thought about it, the more confused Jiraiya became. The Third Hokage was his teacher, and he respected his teacher. He would not do such an outrageous thing as killing his teacher like Orochimaru. But, isn't there someone who is specifically responsible for taking the blame? Orochimaru, do you have Danzo's body tissue here? What do you want to do? Nothing, I just simply want you to revive him, and I'm just killing him to vent my anger. What kind of devilish talk are you making? I worked so hard to revive him, just so you can kill him to vent your anger. Besides, if Danzo is to be killed, it should be my disciple Sasuke. Beside him, Sasuke heard this and looked at Orochimaru with eyes full of praise. Then after I killed him, can't you revive him again? Good Jiraiya, I didn't expect you to be such a person. Orochimaru, really misjudged you. Orochimaru, you are really becoming more and more like a woman. Hesitating, in one word, can you help me revive Danzo? Orochimaru was not angry about Jiraiya saying that he was like a woman. He just shrugged and replied, I'm sorry, I don't have Danzo's body tissue here. If you really want to revive Danzo, you can go to the Hidden Rain Village. Isn't the actual leader of the Hidden Rain Village your disciple? I believe he won't do the same as me and kill his master, right? Jiraiya was silent. Thinking about the figure that flew into the sky to destroy Konoha when counting Danzo, Jiraiya really couldn't guarantee whether Nagato would attack him. Forget it, let's talk about it later when there is a chance. Chapter 169. Speculations on the Moon Eye Project. Jiraiya and Orochimaru had already finished discussing the topic of reviving Danzo, but Naruto's words immediately aroused their interest. Sexy sage, you two are so stupid. Orochimaru looked at Naruto with interest, and said with a half smile, oh? Naruto, what do you think? Naruto didn't keep them in suspense, he said directly, it's very simple. You want to revive Danzo but you don't have his body tissue, but can't you use the body tissue of the young Danzo 40 years ago? Although they are people from different periods, in general, they can be considered the same person, right? Naruto's words were like a revelation to Orochimaru and Jiraiya, making them suddenly enlightened. Yeah, that's a really good idea, why didn't I think of it? Haha, I didn't expect that even though I've been so smart all my life, I'd still be taught a lesson by Naruto. Yeah, Orochimaru, we're all trapped by our own inherent thinking. With the existence of the light curtain, we should be bolder in our thinking. Yes, I'm going to think of a way to turn little Jiraiya over there into a cute girl, so that you can't use the fact that I'm a woman now to criticize me. No, please let me go over there, he's just a child. Haha, you want me to let you go over there? Sure, it happens that my laboratory is short of funds, you see. Okay, you're so cruel. Hehe, then thank you, Hokage. After Naruto's reminder, Orochimaru and Jiraiya felt much better. Jiraiya was finally able to vent his anger by hitting Danzo. And Orochimaru got Jiraiya's funds. Both of them got what they wanted, which was a win-win situation. Danzo. What about me? Can you respect a dead man like me? Ziwashan's official book briefly reviewed the whole incident. There is no treason. It can be said that it is the last pillar of the dark period of Kurigaku. There is no such thing as Kizum being a traitor. After all, no matter how bad Kurigaku is, the fourth Hokage is still the supreme leader. For example, the fifth Hokage summoned asked Kakashi to cut Danzo, then Kakashi decisively cut Danzo into fat and thin pieces, then took a bath and went to Tsunade's room at midnight to hand in the task. If the root boss Danzo asked Kakashi to cut Tsunade, Kakashi would not do it but cut Danzo into pieces on the spot, then took a bath and went to Tsunade's room at midnight to hand in the task. Excuse me, is Kakashi a traitor? Kakashi, why did you have to go to Tsunade's room in the middle of the night to hand in a task? Jiraiya the 5th generation stared at Kakashi with sharp eyes, making Kakashi sweat coldly. I have never gone to Tsunade's room to hand in a task, and it is impossible for me to go to Tsunade's room to hand in a task in the middle of the night. What the light screen said was just an example, just an analogy. Hehe, why did the light screen use you as an example when it couldn't use anyone else? Kakashi swallowed his saliva. He really wanted to ask Jiraiya if the light screen said that he was not talking about him going to Tsunade's room to hand in a task, so he felt unhappy. Of course, Kakashi could only think about it in his heart. He would definitely not say it. If he really said it, he was afraid that he would be tortured to death in the future. I really don't know this. How about you write a note to ask Shion after the video is over? Forget it, don't bother Shion with such a small matter. Seeing Jiraiya turn his head away, Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at Itachi Sakumo, wanting to ask him why he didn't speak up for him just now. But he didn't expect that his father, like Jiraiya, was staring at him with sharp eyes. Dad, why are you staring at me? Itachi Sakumo approached Kakashi and whispered in his ear. Tell me honestly, did you really not go to Tsunade's room to hand in the task in the middle of the night? Psycho. Kakashi glared at Sakumo in return, and the meaning was already very clear. He, Kakashi, had never gone to Tsunade's room to hand in the task from beginning to end. Very good Kakashi, you said that what I said not long ago was bullshit, and now you say I am a psychopath. I'm really looking forward to the test of you tonight. Kakashi. What a sin. Let's get back to the point. The situation that Ziwashan can see clearly, as a part-time worker, Kizum cannot see clearly. Kizum's situation was arranged by his superiors. The task of killing his companions made him numb, causing his entire adolescence to be a period of confusion. But to be honest, anyone who has experienced this with Kizum would probably feel annoyed. After Kizum plotted against Ziwashan, he was also worried that he would be killed by the Mizukage in the future. Until Uchiha Obito showed up, used the reputation of Uchiha Madara to win over Kizum, and told him about the Eye of the Moon plan for the happiness of all people. Eye of the Moon? What is this plan? Lin, has Obito told you about this? To reply to the 5th Hokage, Obito did not tell me about the Eye of the Moon plan. Is that so? If Obito comes to see you next time, you can find a chance to ask. I don't know why, but I always feel that the Eye of the Moon plan is a bit dangerous. Through speculation about the Chibaku Tensei, Jiraiya and the 3rd Hokage and others used divergent thinking to guess that something must be sealed on the moon. Now hearing about the Eye of the Moon plan again, it really made him think a lot. The word moon obviously refers to the moon. Obito's plan is probably to break the seal on the moon, right? I hope my guess is wrong. Eye of the Moon plan. Is Obito going to do anything to the moon? In Tobirama's office, everyone was also guessing what this plan was about. Unlike the 5th generation Jiraiya's guess that Obito wanted to break the seal on the moon. Senju Tobirama was more inclined to believe that Obito wanted to do something through the moon. However, due to insufficient information, he couldn't guess what it was. Combined with the purpose of the Akatsuki organization to capture the nine-tailed beasts, Tobirama could only guess that Obito wanted to send all nine-tailed beasts to the moon and seal them up. Without the threat of the tailed beasts, the entire ninja world might be more peaceful. If this is true, then isn't Obito doing a good thing? Then, will the blackened Obito in the light curtain really do good things? Tobirama thinks it should be impossible. Therefore, this guess is also very unreliable. With insufficient information, don't make wild guesses. If you really want to know what the Moon Eye plan is, you might as well ask Obito in person from the 3rd Hokage. Teacher, what you said is reliable. Since it is Obito's plan, it is always right to ask him. I just don't know if Obito will tell you. I think it's a bit difficult. He is still very wary of Konoha over there. It's not realistic to expect him to accept it and return to Konoha in a short time. It doesn't matter if he doesn't say it. Anyway, with the light curtain, it's only a matter of time before they know his unknown things. Chapter 170 The Powerful Kizum. By the way, Mr. Tobirama, can we let Shion talk about Obito first? Senju Tobirama looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen who was talking and replied, I handed Shion a note at the end of the 3rd round of inventory, asking him to talk about Uchiha Madara first, but he never responded. I don't know if he didn't receive the note, or if the light curtain has restrictions on the characters counted. Restrictions? Restrictions on what? Restrictions on the order of the characters counted. What's the use of the light curtain restricting this? Senju Tobirama also thought about this question. But with his mortal wisdom, he couldn't figure it out. He would rather believe that Tian didn't receive his note than believe that the light curtain could limit the order of the characters counted in the video. If it was the former, it was just a mistake. From the extra videos of experiencing life over there, it can be seen that the small notes he brought over with the rewards were all transported by some kind of group. It is normal to have bumps and bruises during the transportation. Maybe his little note was damaged during transportation, or accidentally left out or lost. This is all possible. If it is the latter, it means that the light curtain has its own unique logic, and even worse, it may have thoughts similar to humans. Once this is the case, before figuring out the operating logic of the light curtain, Tobirama thinks it is better to stay put. The light curtain is really too mysterious. Since it appeared in the Hokage's office, nearly 10 months have passed. In 10 months, Tobirama didn't even understand the most basic questions such as how the light curtain appeared, how it was produced, and what purpose it had here. In this situation where nothing is known, the best choice is to maintain the status quo. Hiruzen, since you like to think about problems so much, then I will give you a task. While protecting the daimyo, think more about the light curtain. Remember, I have an exam next month. Sarutobi Hiruzen heard this and was full of question marks. He didn't know how he had offended Tobirama-sensei, why he was suddenly asked to think about the light curtain, and the point was, Tobirama-sensei would test him afterwards. This was very unreasonable. No one knew about the light curtain, so how the hell was he going to test him? Wasn't it still up to Tobirama-sensei to decide whether the answer was right or wrong? Anyway, Sarutobi Hiruzen was regretting it to death at this moment. He shouldn't have responded just now. Even if he did, he shouldn't have asked a counter-question. What a fucking miscalculation. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen being scolded, Shimura Danzo on the side happily covered his mouth and tilted his head to laugh. From his shrugging shoulders, you can see how happy he is now. Danzo, since you are so happy, then do the same as Hiruzen, think more about the light curtain, and I'll test you together next month. After knowing the Eye of the Moon plan, Kizum's initial confusion disappeared on the spot. Faced with the false world, he instantly agreed with the plan, and naturally joined Akatsuki, becoming the new owner of Same Hada, and was awarded one of the 7 ninja swordsmen and the title of S-level Rebel Ninja of Kurigaku. Akatsuki also gave new members a gift pack, a fire cloud robe and a south ring. Let's not talk about the ring, this fire cloud robe is an invisible death warrant, remember not to take it off when fighting. Laughs. Kizum, who joined Akatsuki, wanted to do a big fight, but he was sent by Obito to monitor the new member Uchiha Itachi, and they formed a partnership to act together. But Uchiha Itachi's experience of slaughtering his compatriots made Kizum feel deeply sympathetic, so the two quickly got through the running-in period. Seeing this, Ashuma suddenly slapped his forehead and said, I said that when I was watching Kazuo-shan and Kizum just now, I had an inexplicable sense of deja vu about Kizum's behavior. Now that I saw Uchiha Itachi appear, I realized that his behavior is really very similar to Itachi's. Kakashi nodded and replied, it is indeed similar, but it is just similar. Honya said, so the relationship between these two people should be more harmonious, after all, they have similar experiences. Hatake Seikumo felt a little sorry for Kizum, it's a pity for Kizum, he is just a ninja who follows orders, how come he ended up as a traitor? Seikumo was also a ninja who only knew how to follow orders. He did whatever the superiors told him to do, and he would not think about the twists and turns. He just did it after accepting the mission. The only time he thought more was his last mission. He needed to choose between rescuing his teammates and completing the mission. If he rescued his teammates, the mission would fail and the village would suffer losses. If he didn't save his teammates, the mission would be successfully completed, the village would not suffer losses, and it would benefit. Seikumo thought a lot at the time, and finally chose to save his teammates and let the damn mission go to hell. Everyone knows what happened later. Under the pressure of public opinion, he committed suicide, leaving the young Kakashi behind. At this time, seeing Kizum on the screen, he couldn't help but sigh. Sighing for Kizum's experience. At the same time, he also sighed for his own past. I have to mention here, Aokinoha's hero Uchiha Obito. Ashuma looked at Sasuke with a sneer on his face, patted his shoulder, and also teased. If Danzo hadn't died, I'm sure they would have a lot of topics to talk about. The second Danzo, right? Ha ha ha, Sasuke, you usually have a cold face, I didn't expect you to be so humorous. Looking at Ashuma laughing, Sasuke's mouth twitched, and he didn't reply. Many years later, when Kizum and Uchiha Itachi went to Konoha to capture Naruto, they fought against Konoha's Junin. Home used illusion on Uchiha Itachi, and Ashuma was suppressed by Kizum, but Akai's strong whirlwind kick made Akai remember this man for life. The next time he saw this man, Kizum used the substitute transformed by the elephant turning technique to fight against Kai's class. Unfortunately, he was defeated by Akai's peacock. This time, Kizum got another unexpected surprise. Then Kizum, who claimed to be the strongest master of capture in the Akatsuki organization, captured the four-tailed Jinchuriki Laozi by himself, which showed that he was not bragging. The Jinchuriki said to capture and captured, leaving Laozi, the Jinchuriki, without any face. Later, after Kizum heard that Itachi was killed by Sasuke, Zetsu asked Kizum what his plan was. Kizum calmly said, "Itachi is dead, let me be free for a while." It can be seen that it is indeed a very troublesome thing for Kizum to monitor Itachi. Is Kizum so strong? After all, Orochimaru's plan to collapse Konoha, Itachi and Kizum did come here. At the time, Ashuma and Kizum fought in physical skills, and he was indeed suppressed by the other party. He also admitted that Kizum was indeed stronger than himself. But if it wasn't for the light curtain saying that Kizum could capture the Jinchuriki alive, or the four-tailed Jinchuriki Laozi, he would never believe it. Chapter 171. Sasuke joins Akatsuki. It seems that Akatsuki is indeed an extremely dangerous organization. If it weren't for the appearance of the light curtain, we wouldn't know that there is such an organization in the ninja world. The third Hokage was telling the truth. Even if Uchiha Itachi was a member of Akatsuki, for reasons that everyone understands, Uchiha Itachi would definitely not try his best to gather intelligence. If it weren't for Sasuke not being harassed by the higher-ups in the village, believe it or not, he wouldn't even send back a single piece of intelligence. Sending back some castrated, bankrupt, and deleted intelligence would save everyone's face, and that would be enough. Before the light curtain appeared, the two pieces of intelligence that Itachi sent back were simply unbearable to look at. One was the number of core members of Akatsuki. The other was the names of the core members, and the names were not complete. This led to the third Hokage not having a concept of the danger of Akatsuki. In the original work, the third Hokage might not know as much as Jiraiya, who was collecting information outside. Hidden, Kakuzu, Uchiha Itachi, who have been exposed, and Kizum who is being watched, except for Hidden whose hard power is a bit weak, the other three belong to the sequence of top combat power in any big ninja village. Even Hidden, before his own information is exposed, can be ranked among the top combat forces with his immortal body and curse-killing secret technique. In the Akatsuki organization, there are also Scorpion of the Red Sand, Didera, and the woman who is suspected to be Konan and the leader Nagato who have not been exposed. The Akatsuki organization with such strength, just thinking about it can make people feel cold all over. The more Jiraiya of the fifth generation talked, the more he felt that the Akatsuki organization was very dangerous. If it weren't for the appearance of the light curtain, which let them know the information of the Akatsuki organization, otherwise they would definitely not have a good time when they met it in the future. Didn't you see that Ashuma on the light curtain suffered from the information and died at the hands of the bad guy Hidden? Fortunately, we still have time. It will take at least 2 years before the Three Tails is resurrected. We should use this time to do our best to strengthen our strength. I thought so too. Today, Konoha has resurrected the Ondami and his wife and Hitachi Seikumo. After a while, the Fukuoka couple will also be resurrected, as well as Hisashi of the Hyuga family, Kai's father might die, and so on. By the time, even if all members of the Akatsuki organization are dispatched, they will definitely not be Konoha's opponent. It is absolutely impossible for a situation like Pain on the Light Curtain to destroy the entire Konoha with one blow. Konoha will not allow such a thing to happen. Although the partners Itachi and Kizum have their own goals, they are indeed the most harmonious combination. It can be seen that they appreciate each other. The later Edo Itachi was also sad for Kizum's death when he saw Same Hata in Killer Bee's hands. The last story of Kizum is that he accepted Obito's undercover mission. On the surface, he was going to clean up the mess that Sasuke had not captured Killer Bee. In fact, he was going to find Killer Bee and use Same Hata to go undercover in Kumogaku, and then cooperate with Obito during the ninja war to wipe out the Jinchuriki. Wait, Sasuke captured Killer Bee. What does this mean? Seeing this, Naruto suddenly shouted, very confused by the above words. What else can it mean? Sasuke sneered and said with self-mockery, it's nothing more than joining Akatsuki. Ah? How could that be? Sasuke, how could you possibly join Akatsuki? Why not? This time, Sasuke did not mock Naruto was a fool, but continued to say to him patiently, without knowing the truth about the extermination of the clan in advance, Itachi died in front of me out of character. This was a huge blow to my heart. At the time, I must have been eager to know the truth of everything. At this time, Obito appeared and told me the so-called truth. So, in order to take revenge on Konoha, isn't it reasonable for me to join Akatsuki? He who knew the truth in advance wanted to take revenge on Konoha, not to mention the one in the original book who didn't know the truth. In order to take revenge on Konoha, in addition to having super strength, you also need to have power. There is no need to think about joining other ninja villages. If he wants to go, others may not dare to accept him. Even if other ninja villages agree to let him join, it is mostly for the Sharingan rather than for him as a person. Therefore, if the ninja village is not an option, then the only way is to join some organizations composed of ninjas. Let me ask you, among all the major organizations in the ninja world, which one is stronger than Akatsuki? Besides, with Obito, the second Danzo, there is only one way for him to join Akatsuki. Don't worry, Naruto. I'm not the me in the light curtain. It is impossible for me to join Akatsuki now. Really? Of course, I don't need to lie to you. The 5th generation Jiraiya has agreed to let Orochimaru revive his parents. He would defect from the village and join Akatsuki because he ate too much. I don't believe it unless we make a pinky promise. Ping your sister, believe it or not. Slapping away Naruto's hand that wanted to pinky promise with him, Sasuke returned to his previous cold face. Naruto didn't mind Sasuke slapping his hand away. He just looked at Minato and Kushina with some doubts and asked, Mom and Dad, Sasuke just said to pull my sister. Am I going to have a sister? Cough cough cough. Naruto's words almost made Sasuke choke to death on his own saliva. He stared at Naruto with wide eyes and shouted angrily, You are crazy. Hearing this, Naruto tilted his head and asked, Didn't you say that you would take my sister? You are. Seeing that the two are about to quarrel, Minato quickly stood up to smooth things over, and managed to fool the two. At this time, Kushina said faintly, Minato, Naruto said he wanted a sister. Hearing this, Minato's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He replied with a slightly trembling voice, No. Naruto doesn't mean that. Hehe. Kushina sneered, You can have this. Minato subconsciously touched his waist, smiled bitterly, and said, I really don't have this. Don't worry, I have prepared it for you. After that, Kushina took out a large glass of water from somewhere, and there was a lot of wolf bees soaked in the water. Looking at the lethal amount of wolf bees in front of him, Minato didn't know what Kushina was planning. What Naruto wants a sister, this is all a cover, in fact, she wants a daughter. I have really paid too much for this family. A tear fell from the corner of his eye. Minato took the water cup, made up his mind, closed his eyes, and began to drink crazily. No, he began to eat wolf bees crazily. Seeing this, Kushina smiled and drooled with happiness. Beside him, Ashuma glanced at home carefully, wiped the non-existent cold sweat on his forehead, and sighed secretly. Fortunately, my home would not treat me like this. Just after sighing, Ashuma saw Home took out the same water cup that Minato was eating from somewhere. Home smiled and handed the water cup to Ashuma while saying, This is specially prepared for us by Lady Kushina. Ashuma. Chapter 172. Kisame dies due to version lag. Kisame is called the tailless beast. He has so much chakra that he can be called a chakra-absorbing ninjutsu. At the same time, in the later period, the author also gave him a patch for chakra-absorbing ninjutsu, the Great Senbon. All of the above means that when Kisame, the strongest master of live capture, fights Killer Bee, he does not need to use his full strength, and he can just protect himself and successfully go undercover. When Kisame found Killer Bee, the eight-tails Jinchuriki, who was wandering outside, he was beaten to a near-death state. However, Kisame's fighting style is a slow-burning type. He constantly revitalizes himself by absorbing the chakra of the eight-tails with same Hada, until he imprisoned Killer Bee with a large-scale water hemisphere. Kisame also integrated same Hada into his body, turning into a half-mermaid dominating the water ball, and also has the ability to absorb and perceive chakra, so that the Jinchuriki suffocates in the water without hurting his life. This is why Kizum calls himself a master of live capture. The use of this water-style ninjutsu was not worse than yours, Tobirama. In Tobirama's office, Hashirama looked at the great explosion water wave used by Kizum on the screen, his eyes full of admiration. TSK, his water-style ninjutsu was indeed quite good, but compared to me, he is still far behind. Come on, I don't believe you can use a great explosion water wave of this scale. It's not a question of whether you can use it or not. Senju Tobirama was in a headache. Although his chakra was not as exaggerated as his elder brother Hashirama's, as a member of the Senju clan and Hashirama's younger brother, his chakra was naturally much higher than that of ordinary people. He can also use this scale of water-style ninjutsu. But he doesn't know the great explosion water wave. How can you ask him to use it? If you can't use it, then don't use it. You are my younger brother. Do you think I will despise you, look down on you, and look down on you? Just by this broken mouth, Senju Tobirama felt that the reason why his elder brother could grow up so big was entirely because of his strong strength. You are speechless, right? Do you agree? Senju Tobirama tried to hold back, but couldn't help asking, brother, do you know water escape of this scale? Senju Hashirama looked at Tobirama in surprise and replied, why do you know that? Then why are you asking me? I'm different from you. How is it different? I know would escape, can you? Tobirama was completely silent. When Killer Bee gradually suffocated, he thought that spitting ink could cover his vision, which happened to create an opportunity for Kizum to go undercover. If Kizum's goal was to capture the Eight Tails alive, then he had successfully completed the task. In order to implement the plan, Kizum used the ink-contaminated water ball to make the white Zetsu who came to him look like himself, and Kizum himself sneaked into Same Hada, and then asked the people from Komugaku to carry Same Hada back to the village. As for why he was sure that the people from Komugaku would come, don't forget that White Zetsu was the first scout in the ninja world. In order to make the fate play real, White Zetsu, who turned into Kizum, also used Same Hada to cut off Killer Bee's legs. Even if the legs were cut off, the strong vitality of the Jinchuriki was enough to ensure that Killer Bee would not die. In addition to making everyone believe that the Kizum in front of them was the real body, this could also reduce a lot of resistance when the last step was to cooperate with the outside. After all, Killer Bee's legs were broken, and his strength would definitely be discounted. But White Zetsu never thought that Same Hada protected Killer Bee, so White Zetsu kicked Same Hada and Kizum hiding inside out in anger. In fact, when Kizum merged with Same Hada in the water hemisphere, he already knew that Same Hada liked the chakra of the Eight Tails. For Kizum, Same Hada of this time was really not a 5-year-old knife. When the Raikage and his party came to support Killer Bee, Kizum, played by White Zetsu, was beheaded and gloriously eliminated. Kizum successfully went undercover in Same Hada and stole many secrets in the future. Obito's entire plan relied on Kizum's extremely excellent execution and his superb combat IQ and fighting against Killer Bee. This perfect plan will eventually allow Obito to unite with Kizum in that arc to form a two-sided force against the ninja coalition. Under normal circumstances, it would be difficult for Kizum, who has Katamura, powerful physical skills, powerful ninjutsu, superb combat IQ, and a top-notch weapon, to die. But he died because the combat power of the later period of Naruto collapsed to the point that his grandmother didn't recognize him, and all kinds of gods were flying all over the sky. In the early stage of Naruto, there is a basic rule. You need to first test the opponent's weaknesses, and then attack based on these weaknesses. The ninjutsu used is also honestly sealed. As a result, in the later stage, all the information about testing the enemy's weaknesses is fake. What matters is that you have a lot of strength. When using ninjutsu, you don't seal honestly. You clap your hands and get whatever you want. Only Kizum is still diligently sealing. If he doesn't keep up with the version, who will die if he doesn't die? This the 3rd generation Hokage and the 5th generation Jiraiya and others are speechless. They also want to be like the 1st generation Hokage, Senju Hashirama, and get whatever they want with a clap of their hands. But they really want to say, I can't do it. Clap your hands, it's easy to say, but the technical content involved is not low at all. To do this, in addition to having a huge amount of chakra, you also need to control chakra most accurately and be fully familiar with the ninjutsu you need to use. The 3rd Hokage was able to do the last 2 points, but he did not have as much chakra as the 1st Hokage. He could only simplify the hand seals as much as possible, but could not do without hand seals at all. Unless he was using a non-hand seal ninjutsu like the Rasengan. Even someone as strong as Kizum died in the ninja war on the Light Curtain. You can imagine how cruel that war was. Yeah, I don't know who else besides that first Hokage can use ninjutsu without hand seals. Well, I think Uchiha Madara should be able to do it, right? Uchiha Madara is one, who else? The Light Curtain said that in the later period of Naruto, there were many gods flying around. It can't be that there were only the first Hokage and Madara, right? How do they fly? Double one flying. Ahem. Everyone looked at Itachi Sakamo. I didn't expect that Sakamo, who looked serious on the surface, was still a sultry person in his heart. Actually, that's right. If Sakamo wasn't sultry, he wouldn't have invented a trick like the 1,000 Years of Death. That's right, the 1,000 Years of Death was not invented by Kakashi, but by his father Itachi Sakamo. We're discussing serious matters, Sakamo, you should restrain yourself a little. Sakamo nodded and replied, I'll try my best. In order to save face for his father, Kakashi said at this time, Ahem, I think Nagato of the Akatsuki organization should be counted as one. As soon as Kakashi spoke, Ajira took over and replied, he was sealed into the Ten-Fist Sword by the impure world Itachi, so this does not count. Kakashi. Then what about Itachi? He and Sasuke worked together to stop Kabuto Yakushi, who was already able to use fairy techniques. Isn't that strong enough? Ashuma. After dealing with Kabuto Yakushi, Itachi's soul ascended to heaven, so this doesn't count either. Kakashi. I understand. Kabuto Yakushi definitely doesn't count, right? Ashuma. Very good, you have learned to answer quickly. Kakashi. Everyone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 173 Kism Inventory completed. As for the gods mentioned by the Light Curtain, everyone present had their own candidates in mind. In order to avoid saying it out loud like Kakashi and Ashuma, everyone thought it was better not to say it out loud. At most, everyone can have a good discussion in private after the Light Curtain is finished. No matter what these people think and what candidates they have, Tobirama Senju and Madara Uchiha will definitely be selected. In their opinion, even in the Fourth World War when gods fought, these two people were at the top. During the Fourth World War, I was definitely one of the gods. Sasuke said this firmly, and no one refuted him after hearing it. Think about Sasuke on the Light Curtain, who has transplanted Itachi's eyes and is evolved into the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. After losing the defect of reduced vision, won't the special eye techniques of the Mangekyou be randomly used? Apart from other things, a complete Susanoo alone is very tricky, and few people present can break it. Since there is Sasuke, there must be me too. Naruto was full of confidence when he said this. When everyone heard this, they all thought of Naruto's performance on the Light Curtain. Being able to use the Nine-Tails mode perfectly and rolling various balls, such abilities and performances are enough to be considered high in combat power. And at this moment, everyone finally realized it. Sasuke and Naruto's performance on the Light Curtain seemed a bit scary. Sasuke had the strength on the Light Curtain because of his family bloodline and the transplant of Itachi's eyes. But what did Naruto rely on? Is it just because of his mother Kushina's half-Uzumaki bloodliner? Oh, right, and a perfect Nine-Tails mode. This mode is something that Mito and Kushina, the two Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, have not been able to do, but Naruto has done it. It has to be said that the Child of Destiny is really terrifying. It's great that Konoha has successors. Looking at Naruto and Sasuke, the third Hokage nodded with satisfaction. Back then, he very firmly rejected Danzo's request to let them join the route. Now it seems that this decision is definitely the most correct decision he has made in his lifetime. To be honest, I'm a little envious of Sasuke and Naruto. With the spoilers of the Light Curtain, the road to becoming a strong man for Sasuke and Naruto is already clear. They only need to practice according to the self shown on the Light Curtain. As time goes by, they will sooner or later become as strong as those on the Light Curtain. This situation has caused Ashuma, Kakashi and others to be envious. They also want such spoilers. It's a pity for Ashuma, he has already been defeated on the Light Curtain, and how to continue to become stronger still needs to be explored by himself. Kakashi still has a glimmer of hope. When it's my turn, I hope the ending won't be too bad. Naruto completed the training of controlling the Nine-Tails chakra and gained the ability to sense malice. Kism, who was hiding in Samehada, was caught on the spot and was punched to vomit blood. He could only flee in panic. Same had showed his last friendship and passed a wave of Shaker from Killer Bee to revitalize Kism. But without his sword, Kism was chased and intercepted by the man destined for him, Kai. Both sides did not hold back. Kai opened the 7th gate of the 8 gates and used the Day Tiger. Kism used the Great Same Down technique, which can absorb Shaker and become stronger when facing a stronger opponent. However, the whole world knows that Kai is a master of physical skills, and he also uses pure physical skills instead of ninjutsu. When he found that he couldn't absorb it, Kism's heart was probably shouting fuck, and then regretfully lost to Kai. Afterwards, Kism was asked by Mashiro Uebat to obtain information about Akatsuki. In order to avoid the leakage of information, Kism bit off his tongue and remembered what he heard when he first met Uchiha Itachi, that those who killed their compatriots would not have a good end. After the revolving lantern of life, knowing that he could not escape, he tried his best to break free from the shackles and summoned the spirit beast to commit suicide. This act of not betraying his companions made Akai remember it. Akai. He lived like a real ninja, and he died like a real ninja. Hoshigaki Kism, I will remember your name for the rest of my life. Old man, do you think it is possible for us to persuade Kism to rebel? Let him join Konoha or return to Karigaku. It can be seen that the 5th generation Jiraiya really admired Kism and didn't want him to die like this. Although I also admire Kism, I still have to say that you're dreaming. I know it's difficult, but everything depends on human efforts. The 3rd generation Hokage shook his head. Anyway, I don't think it's a good idea. Judging from the belief shown by Kism on the light screen, I don't think it will be changed before he fails. Alas, that's really a pity. It's hard to imagine that Akai could say such literary words. It is conceivable how deep an impression Kism left on his mind. Before his death, Kism asked the summoning beast to successfully pack the information and bring it back to Akatsuki, successfully completing the task under the worst circumstances. Looking at his life, he could not see the situation seen by Xiwashan during the Karigaku period, and could only work hard as a tool. The Moon Eye project that he fought for also became a scam in the later period. But so what? Who in the world can see all the truth? What? The Moon Eye project is a scam. Everyone in the office looked at each other. The 3 generations of Hokage, the 5th generation of Jiraiya and others were still telling Lin to ask Obito what the Moon Eye project was when she had the chance. Not long after that, Huang Mu said that the Moon Eye project was a scam. This is very interesting. What role does Obito play in this plan? Is he the planner or the executor of the plan? There are too many variables in it. Lin decided to ask Obito clearly the next time she sees him. In this ninja continent, only Kism made a hand seal obediently at the end, and died with dignity like a ninja who protected intelligence. There are many things that are likable about Kism. When fighting with the younger generation of Karigaku such as Suigetsu, he never killed them, and always treated them with patience. Kism is also very polite in dealing with people. It is written in the official book. The tone of his usual speech is as careful as offering courtesy, especially to Itachi. He is very obedient, even to the point of worry, and the official book also clearly states that the members of the entire organization have their own pursuits, but Kism never puts his beliefs on his lips. Among all the members of the Akatsuki organization, only Kism is conscientious and consistent in his ultimate ideals for the organization. He has never stepped on a landmine along the way, and at the same time he has a goal to strive for, has grown, and is strong. People like this who have sublimated are good characters that the public likes. Chapter 174 Black Zetsu in action. The video ended, and then it was time for the people from the 2 time periods to communicate. On Tobirama's side, when he heard Jiraiya Godami say that he wanted some of Danzo's body tissue, his face immediately became strange. Not only him, but also the people who followed and listened to him had strange expressions. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Uchiha Kagami and others were laughing wildly. And Shigeru Danzo himself was so embarrassed that his face turned green. As smart as they were, they already knew what Jiraiya Godami wanted Danzo's body tissue for. In addition to wanting to further explore the intelligence of the Akatsuki organization, he probably wanted to vent his anger. Rarely, Danzo bypassed Tobirama teacher and talked to Jiraiya Godami first. Your Danzo is dead, but you still don't let him go. What's the hatred? Don't you think this is too much? Hearing this, the people on Jiraiya Godami's side said in their hearts that it was interesting. Is the young version of Danzo complaining for the old version of Danzo? Look at what you said. What do you mean by excessive? We just want to ask the impure world to come out and ask about his cause of death. If he died at the hands of Akatsuki, we will ask him about the information of Akatsuki. Don't think too much. No matter what he planned secretly, at least on the surface, there was nothing wrong with what Jiraiya God said. Akatsuki was their future enemy. A little more understanding could reduce some casualties. The price paid was only the impure world Danzo. This could not be considered a price. There were still some death row prisoners in the village, so they were just used as waste. Do you think I believe it? Don't you feel guilty saying this? The young version of Danzo would not think that Jiraiya God and others would let him go so easily when he was old. Judging others by himself, facing such a guy who had done so many bad things, even if he died, he would whip the corpse to vent his anger. Now that he has the clone resurrection technique, he has to kill him a few more times, otherwise his thoughts will not flow. Look, even Danzo himself thought that his old self was overdoing things, let alone others. Don't worry, we really just want to get some information about Akatsuki from the old Danzo. After you get the information, you'll torture me, right? The young Danzo sneered. This kind of language trap is child's play in front of him. Seeing that he didn't scare the young Danzo, Jiraiya the 5th generation sighed, how about I swear? If I torture the old Danzo after resurrecting him, then I, the Toad Sage Jiraiya, will die a miserable death. That's fine, right? Haha, just because you don't take action doesn't mean others won't take action. Do you really think I'm stupid? Danzo, you fucking idiot. Jiraiya the 5th generation had no choice. Seeing that the time for communication was about to end, his mood began to become a little anxious. Seeing that Jiraiya the 5th generation began to get angry, the young Danzo felt relieved. He liked this kind of situation, when others disliked him but couldn't get rid of him. Okay, stop showing off. Finally, Tobirama couldn't stand it anymore and patted Danzo on the shoulder, asking him to be more restrained. Don't worry, Jiraiya the 5th generation. When I come over in a few days, I will bring you some of Danzo's body tissues. Then thank you, Nadami-sama. The communication time was over. Danzo looked at Tobirama with a puzzled look on his face and asked, Teacher, why did you agree to them? Hearing this, Tobirama replied indifferently, what are you afraid of? They are not going to kill you. What does it have to do with you if they kill Danzo over there? After that, he began to greet his elder brother and sister-in-law, and left the office first, leaving Danzo behind in shock. Yeah, killing Danzo 40 years later, what does it have to do with you, the Danzo 40 years ago? It's not killing you. Danzo, do you think that what you did 40 years later was right? Sarutobi Hiruzen had already torn his face with Shinura Danzo. It was fine when nothing happened, and they could still maintain a minimum harmony. Once Danzo gets into trouble, he will not miss the opportunity to strike him. Uchiha Kagami is also very simple. Even if the destruction of Uchiha has a lot to do with Danzo 40 years later, he did not blame Danzo of this period on the surface, but what he really thinks in his heart, only he knows. Hiruzen, don't be complacent, it's still unknown who will win the position of Hokage. Kagami, the Uchiha incident has nothing to do with me, you can't vent your anger on me. Danzo acted both angry and aggrieved. However, Hiruzen and Kagami did not look at him, but walked out of the office together. On the way, Kagami suddenly had an idea and asked Hiruzen, do you think I should let the 5th generation Jiraiya and others revive me over there? You are just watching the fun and don't mind the trouble, right? Haha, what do you mean? Given the situation in Konoha over there, are you really sure that after you revive you over there, you won't kill the 3rd generation Hokage over there? It can be said that Uchiha Kagami has paid everything to protect his family. When he learned that his family was destroyed and that the village leaders were involved, would he avenge his family? Yes, Danzo was dead. But there was still the 3rd Hokage, Kaharu Tatain, and Ongmai Tokado. Take Kagami as an example. When he knew that his family was destroyed, he would definitely awaken the main Kime Sharingan. With the main Kime and a younger body, if they really made trouble in Konoha, it would definitely be a big deal. If you really want to revive yourself over there, then wait until everything is settled. Otherwise, even if you ask for it, they will definitely not agree. Well, you're right, I took it for granted. After the call ended, the 3rd Hokage's side naturally began to disperse. When they walked out of the office, everyone's expressions were relatively normal. Except for Kakashi, Ashuma, and Minato Namake's. Their expressions were full of helplessness and sadness, as well as a hint of fear about what was going to happen later. Let's go, Kakashi, let me test your strength. Kakashi. I think you just want to beat me up. Ashuma, stop dawdling. Come home with me and get some rest early. I still have a mission tomorrow. Ashuma. Are you sure you'll get some rest early? Minato, let's compete to see who can't get out of bed tomorrow. Minato. Can I surrender and lose half? Kushina. Of course not. Tonight is destined to be sleepless. Pain, what do you think? In the Akatsuki base in the Hidden Mist Village, Black Zetsu was talking to Tendo Pain. Ever since Obito started to lose interest in the Moon Knight plan, Black Zetsu has been urging Nagato to start the plan to capture the tailed beasts now. After learning that Konoha had resurrected the Ondami couple and Hatake Seikamo, it became even more anxious. This time, it was the 5th time it had come to ask Nagato this month. I still say that the plan will not be implemented until the Three Tails is resurrected. Chapter 175 Black Zetsu makes a decision. No, Pain. By the time the Three Tails is resurrected, it will be too late. Nagato's clean and neat refusal made Black Zetsu very dissatisfied. He was just a tool to resurrect Uchiha Madara, but he couldn't turn against him. Just thinking about it made him angry. What do you mean it's too late? Zetsu, are you hiding something from me? He had doubts about Zetsu since the first time Zetsu came to him and asked him to capture the tailed beasts in advance. Under normal circumstances, Zetsu was the intelligence officer in the Akatsuki organization. Except for matters related to intelligence, he is not needed for other matters. But such a person in charge of intelligence came to him again and again and asked him to implement the plan in advance, which was very suspicious. Zetsu's inexplicable enthusiasm made people who didn't know think that Zetsu was the boss of the Akatsuki organization. That's right, Pain. I know something, so I urge you to implement the plan in advance. Black Zetsu thought about it and decided to tell Nagato what happened in Konoha village to persuade him. If it really drags on until Konoha resurrects Senju Hashirama, things will become quite troublesome. I just found out some time ago that Konoha got a resurrection technique from somewhere, which can perfectly resurrect the dead. Resurrection technique. Nagato, who was controlling the conversations between Tendo Pain and Zetsu behind the scenes, heard Zetsu say this, and many thoughts flashed through his mind. The thing he regretted most was that Yahiko died in front of him, and he had no way to do anything. In order to fulfill Yahiko's dream, he could not use the Samsara Eyes Samsara Natural Generation Technique to resurrect Yahiko. The Samsara Natural Generation Technique is very powerful and can perfectly resurrect the dead, but the price of this technique is the user's life. If Yahiko can carry the Samsara Eye, Nagato doesn't mind exchanging his life with Yahiko. But the reality is that Nagato, the owner of the Samsara Eye, is almost drained by these eyes, let alone others. In order to realize Yahiko's dream, Akatsuki still needs the power of the Samsara Eye. Therefore, Nagato could not revive Yahiko at the cost of his own death. He could only use the power of the Rinnegan to make Yahiko's body into a puppet, creating the illusion that Yahiko was still alive, so that he could accompany him and con him to comfort himself. Now when he heard Zetsu say that Konoha had a resurrection technique, Nagato's first thought was to secretly talk to Master Jiraiya about the resurrection technique. Is the news true? Yes, it is true, not a bit false. Oh? I'm curious how you know this. Logically speaking, Konoha should not make a big fuss about resurrecting the dead. Pain, you're wrong. Although Konoha did not tell others about it in a big way, it also kept it secret. At present, Iwagakure and Kamogakure are preparing to form an alliance to deal with Konoha. Really? Tendo Pain's voice suddenly became low, and his eyes looking at Zetsu became much sharper. Such an important thing, why did you tell me now? Black Zetsu was silent for a while, and then replied. I have to confirm the authenticity of the matter, right? Nagato did not comment. Since Zetsu gave the reason, he was too lazy to care so much. What he cared about most at this time was the matter of resurrection. Of course, in front of Zetsu, he could not show it too obviously. What did Konoha do to provoke Kamogakure and Iwagakure to deal with him together? Konoha didn't do anything, they just resurrected the second Hokage Senju Tobirama, the first nine-tailed Jinchuriki Uzumaki Mito, the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, the second nine-tailed Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina, and Konoha's white fan Hatake Seikamo. Black Zetsu didn't know that Senju Tobirama and Uzumaki Mito are from another time and space, and he thought that these two people were also resurrected by Konoha. But apart from these two people, the latter three people alone are enough to attract attention. So, the cost of this resurrection technique is not very high, and Konoha can resurrect others unscrupulously. After learning that Konoha has successfully resurrected so many people, Nagato's eyes behind the scenes immediately brightened. The smaller the cost, the greater the chance that Konoha can let him resurrect Yahiko. Thinking that he would be able to see the living Ahayako soon, Nagato, who had become indifferent, couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth and smiled rarely. I haven't found out what the price is, but it may be as you said, the price is not that great. So Pain, we have to implement the plan to capture the tailed beast as soon as possible. Once Konoha resurrects a group of people, it will be difficult for us to capture the Nine Tails again. It doesn't matter, no matter who Konoha resurrects, or how many people are resurrected, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I will take action when the time comes. Black Zetsu. No, Pain, you may not understand what I mean. Okay Zetsu, I understand what you mean. Pain interrupted Zetsu and continued confidently. I'm a god. No matter how many mortals there are, they can't resist God after all. After saying this, Tendo Pain didn't give Zetsu a chance to reply, and turned around and left. Pain's departure made Black Zetsu furious. God. God's head. You were a god, you're probably a fetal god. In front of him is Obito, who is becoming more and more unpromising. In the back is Nagato, who doesn't act according to his arrangement. How could Black Zetsu be so worthy at meeting this pair of dragons and phoenixes at the same time? However, even though he was angry, he still had to continue. Since you don't agree, I will force you to agree. Don't blame me, Nagato, you forced me to do this. At this moment, Black Zetsu decided to start the plan to capture the tailed beasts by himself. He didn't believe that when he threw the one-tailed Jinchuriki into the Akatsuki base, Nagato would still refuse this gift that was delivered to his door. As for the three-tail that was still in the resurrection period, Black Zetsu also had a way. It didn't spend thousands of years in vain. For some weaker-tailed beasts, it had been secretly collecting their chakra. It just so happened that the three-tail was one of the weaker-tailed beasts. The chakra it collected was not actually much, but it was barely enough to revive the ten-tail. However, the ten-tail resurrected in this way would inevitably be a little malnourished. The final result would also make the returning Kaguya Otsutsuki not in perfect condition, and would be a little weak. To be honest, if the situation was not getting more and more serious, Black Zetsu would not want to do this. It was because it had waited for so long, and this was the best chance. If it missed this chance, it was unknown how long it would take Frindra's reincarnation to awaken the Samsara, and it would have to trust it. Therefore, Black Zetsu decided not to wait any longer. Even if Mom is a little weak, these ninjas will not be Mom's opponent at all. Mom is the invincible existence. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.